Heard non-duality, the idea of non-duality, which is just to take the basic definition, non is not, duality is two. So this is a negation, really, not an affirmation. You are the affirmation. There's no need to do an affirmation. It's a negation of what's going on. Yeah, that's about it, really. It's the idea of selfing. And I'll just start with the first video we ever did. And the first video we ever did was about an old parable from India, which was the sheep and the lion. Yeah, so if you've heard it, it's far out. So there's a young lion and a mother, and the mother gets killed. And now the young lion is orphaned. He really doesn't know what's going on, and it's just roaming around. And he comes upon a flock or a herd of sheep, and he starts moving towards those sheep. Now that's the first awakening today. Shakti is moving. It comes through auditory. Yeah. So this young lion moves towards the sheep. Now the sheep knows it's a lion, and they're a little concerned. But then they realize that it doesn't know it's a lion, so to speak. Yeah. So it gets ingratiated into the sheep herd, and it starts chewing cud and listening to people, being concerned about who's going to be the next sweater next year. And it's looking at sheep, really wanting to eat it, but it's thinking, hey, I'd like to meet that sheep, And they have it meets a young sheep, and they have kids, and the kids look a little weird, but they rationalize it away. And now it sort of becomes an elder, and it's a big member of the sheep herd. Got a lot of respect, but it has a vague sense of something's not right. And so one day an old lion shows up, sees the herd, starts chasing it, and in the corner of its eye it sees this young lion running, and it thinks the young lion's joining the hunt, but it realizes it's running with the sheep. So it veers off and it grabs the young lion. The young lion rolls on its back and says, "Oh, Mr. Lion, please don't eat me. I'm a humble sheep." Now the old lion is sort of perplexed, but just grabs the young lion, drags it over to the water hole, puts both their heads over, and the young lion sees the reflection. Yeah, bammo. Then the old lion just goes roar. It roars immediately. It hadn't roared in 5 years, yes? But it immediately roars because it's always been a lion. No matter how much it thought it was a sheep, lived as a sheep, believed it was a sheep, it could not override the fact that it was a lion. It was a very simple invitation. It just saw the reflection, bammo, it gets it. But this is where I felt there needs to be a follow-up message. Because what happens is when the old lion splits and the young lion starts walking away from the pond, the sheep mentality kicks in and claims to have had a great experience of a lion. And now the sheep is now the primary condition once again, seemingly, yes? So when I went to Satsang, and you've heard of Satsang, yeah? I went to, let's say, non-dual Satsang. I was hearing the message, but I wasn't hearing what's needed for that message to gain some traction. And it's not the recognition you're a lion, it's the clarity you're not a sheep. Yes, because the mental state, doesn't matter how peak an experience you have, is still going to be taking itself to be a sheep. Yes? And the lion isn't doing it out of choice or volition. It's just a mechanical activity. Yeah? So there was an old guy, remember Trungpa Rinpoche? He wrote a famous book, Cutting Through Spiritual Materialism. The first paragraph of that book was, you got to know one thing. And he uses the term ego, which I don't particularly like, but he says you got to know one thing about the ego. Whatever it's brought into contact with, it's going to claim. Yeah? So this is the situation. So I was going to Satsang, And basically my posture was just like going to everywhere else. Yeah, there was me, and this me was going to get a better me, or a more transcendent me. But the idea of me was safely entrenched with all these spiritual practices. Yeah, and I saw it, and I saw it at Satsang. I was sitting there in Satsang, and then there was the people that were in the audience, and then there was another person, and it was obvious the people in the audience thought this other person had something they didn't have, which is the activity of duality, which is the whole negation of this message, is non-duality. This message, there's not, if there's a Catholic church, there's not a non-Catholic church. There's not a non-Buddhist temple. This is the only one where the whole movement is negating, because there's an assumption that seems to be the dominant narrative. That's a mistake. Yeah? And it's going to reassert itself, and no matter what condition you think you're in, doesn't change its condition. It doesn't. You may lose interest in it, and the volume may go down, but it's basically going to claim with whatever it gets into contact with by us. We bring it into contact, it claims the contact. And I saw it, it was very clear. And I saw it, and I called it selfing. It just made a sense, because the whole idea of self is the product of the selfing. Yet when people would call me and go, hey, I was at that meeting today, and I really got the idea of selfing, and then I've been selfing all day. No, that's not it. The selfing implies there's a self, and then that self is presupposed to be the doer of what comes after, which is the selfing. You see it? There's selfing, and then there's an insinuation or implying that there's a thing. The thing is not before the activity. The thing is a product of the activity. It's imagined. So the selfing produces a sense of self. The sense of self is historical. When you feel like a self, right now you feel like you've been a self. What's the narrative? I mean, you do need to read the books, but you don't need to read the books because it's right here. Yeah, all you need is an understanding to trigger the recognition, because it's going on right now. This activity, and what happens for a lot of people is they feel like they're doing it somehow, and they don't want to know anymore. I've fucking realized I'm done enough. I don't want to be responsible for this, and they're not. It's mechanical. And they believe if I get into a certain condition, it will stop. It doesn't stop. As long as you're there, it's going on. Yeah? But the thing is, what happens is there's a loss of interest in it. A loss of interest. The whole practice, there isn't a practice, the whole movement or migration is premised on a loss of interest. It's not gaining interest or focusing interest or concentrating. It's a loss of interest in all of that. Yeah? And then when you're not looking, you'll be seeing. The looking is a form of blindness to the seeing. The seeing is like relaxed, very panoramic. The looking is focused and very myopic. Yeah? When you're in the looking, it has conceptual ideas of the panoramic. Yeah, but it only can imagine the panoramic as the myopic. When you move out of the myopic, you see the myopic from the panoramic. The panoramic is never seen by the myopic, ever. But you see the myopic by the panoramic. And it's not you're not doing the migration. It's just interest and attention. It's like emphasis. The emphasis, just like when we have some people that come to our Zooms from Scotland, right? So I always ask them to say miracle, because they emphasize a syllable in it that we don't. So it's like miracle or something like that. And this is sort of what goes on. There's stuff going on, but what's getting highlighted and emphasized is quite different. Yeah? And most of the highlighting and emphasis is to support and reinforce this idea of being a self. Yeah? So the system promotes and begets the system. Yeah? This is seeing the system. It's not changing how the system looks. It's seeing the system. And what it will tell you with a modicum of understanding from non-duality is you're not that. Not like vehemently, I'm not that. It's just you're not that. And yet, when you see, the head would think, all right, I saw that it's not you, then it stops. It doesn't stop. You're not that, and there it goes. It just keeps going. And a lot of people get incredibly surprised. A lot of people, because it's amazing, they believe they woke up, and then they also believe that now they did something to blow the awakeness, which is terrible, man. I've seen so much spiritual suffering, it's unbelievable. So a little history about Zen Bitsa. I came from recovery, yes? So I was a hopeless, there wasn't a me, but there was a hopeless state of mind and body called Paul that it looked like it was never going to change. Got run over twice by the same car one night. That didn't motivate a change. Nothing seemed to do it. No human power could change it. The state wanted it to change. My mother wanted it to change. I wanted it to change, but nothing could change it. And it just went on and on and on. Until one day, it was just a regular day at the office, really. I went out St. Patrick's Day, 1988. It wasn't like I didn't go out the night before and then before that, but it was a signpost because something was a brewing. There was going to be a change. So March 17th, I went out. I lost the car March 18th. March 19th, I don't know what happened. March 20th, I didn't know what happened. And basically, what a lot of alcoholics and addicts have sometimes is what's called a blackout, where you lose a long stretch of time. You don't know what went on. Some people travel, they wake up in another state, literally, and stuff like that. And so when you come out of a blackout, it's like, parachuting behind enemy lines. You have no idea, but no one's missed you. You've been there the whole time. There was just a different self representing you for those 12, 13 hours. And actually, I did better with that representation than when I was running the show most of the time. So here I was, and I wake up in a trailer park, in a trailer in Calistoga, California. I went out in San Francisco. So I came to, and I was looking across the table, and this guy, he had a big head with varicose veins on his face and a big nose. And we were passing a bottle of Royal Gate vodka. And I looked at him and I said, this guy's a bum, you know what I mean? But lo and behold, it looked like he was looking at me like I was a bum. And at that moment, something I did not believe could ever happen, because I was in the hopeless variety at that point. Yeah. All I wanted was to stay obliterated until I went to another institution, jail or death, basically. It was just, I'd given up all hope with this thing changing. So it hit me. The head stopped, which I didn't know could happen. And the screen got empty, and then suddenly it was like a CNN broadcast, just a very quick news flash, and the news flash was, I'm fucked. Yeah. Now, that was the condition, but I was in a huge level of denying that condition all day. It was a lot of work and a lot of drinking to do that. And then the next underneath that was, and I'm not managerial quality. That was a very important point. So it hit me, and my life changed at that moment. I had new thoughts came in, and I thought, I got to do something, and I left the camper, called up the program I had been in for 2 years, from 85 to 87, and I thrived in an institutional setting. I did great without me running the show, really. And so I asked them if I could come back. They said no. They'd been getting my newsletter for the last 10 months. They said, no, maybe in about a month you can come for another interview. And I said the first honest thing, I don't have a month. And so the amazing thing was that miracle would have died on the vine maybe in a day or two. But it caused a train of circumstances to happen that brought me to my first recovery meeting that night in San Francisco. A woman I used to party with, I called her up and she helped me once again. And when I got in the car, I tried to talk her into, getting the cocaine, getting the alcohol, the dirty magazines, renting the hotel room and shit. And she said she had followed that equation with me many times, hadn't been that satisfying for her. So she said, no, we're not doing that this time, but if you want a place to stay tonight, which I did, you got to go to a recovery meeting. So she took me to my first meeting 34 years ago. And I was struck sober. And I was introduced to a way of life to extend that miracle for 34 years. And I'd never had a strong feeling or thought about drinking or using, ever. It's amazing, really. I mean, on this level, it's been the greatest solution I ever met, because the problem doesn't exist for me. And what happened there, I was introduced to this idea, which just went beautifully into non-duality, which is self is what has defeated us. Yeah? And us is a collective, let's say like this, and self is a singularity. So one seeming thing has defeated all of these things. Yes? And I saw that it was foreign to me. That was the greatest gift. I wasn't calling it me. And it wasn't it wasn't an intellectual, it was a tactile sense. I just knew it was like a foreign pathogen or a parasitical movement or something. It was just so clear. And then immediately when I saw that, the possibility I could be free from it became available. And then it gave me a tutorial of my life since I was 6 till that moment, a very quick scan. And basically all I'd been trying to do was I was trying to get out of self as self. Yeah, which it cannot happen. And blew my mind completely. And then a few years later, I was introduced to non-duality, maybe 97 or something. And when I heard the message, it was like an unspoken yes. It was like knowledge before knowing, yeah? Just knew it in my gut. And there it went. And so I was working a lot in recovery, and we decided to try to get a website made. And the only people that knew how to work on the computers were newcomers, and they all went out. So we never got the website because they all got loaded again before the deal was done. So after 2 years, we finally got someone to stay sober long enough to get Zen Bitch Slap. And then, as soon as we started putting stuff out, people from other groups started getting in touch. And then I saw spiritual addiction. I went to spiritual groups, and I could see, clear as day, just another form of addiction. Maybe not so many tattoos and leather jackets, but robes and long, loving gazes. But basically, there was the same engine, this exact same engine, yeah, of drug addiction. Actually, I think drug addiction, at least you get something with drug addiction. You get a rush, you know, pretty good. So I started to see this stuff, and I'd go to this group in North Carolina, and they would have a 60 people retreat all week, and on this weekend they'd bring in like gunslingers from other places to speak. So I used to go there. And so I would be talking about selfing and then the spiritual addiction, and there would be a person that had been there all week, and they go, "Can you give us an example?" And I would, voila, you know what I mean, right now. I mean, because the head always has you a step out of it. You're always in an observational state. That's what you want to see. Yeah? See, like many of us here, we know, you can have tons of realizations like this, yes? Very big, get super clear, everything like this. But this is what actually I feel is valuable when it goes like this. So what's looking is looked at. You see this. Instead of this being the one who's having all the realizations, you see that. Yeah? Because I've met a lot of people who are super clear and are not clear about that. Yes? So this thing opens up, and now you're seeing. And what's seeing it is behind the camera, and what you are not is always in front of the camera. And that which is in front of the camera is never going to transcend and arrive at back of the camera. It's a negation of that which is in front of the camera, and then the emphasis is that which is behind the camera. That's what happens. You do not emphasize that which is behind from the before, because that's more about the before. You lose interest in this, you gain interest in that. You can't gain interest in that, yeah, with this. That will be interest in this. Yes? You see it? Simple. So here. So then I just kept doing the satsangs, and here we are. Really. It was a terrible career choice. I could have been a big circuit speaker in AA, really, but every step of the way I sabotaged myself. But no, what happened with this message we share now is this stuff was coming through, and at first I thought I should respond as this and try to get better. Yeah, I need to be clearer, to be a vessel. It was all bullshit, really. It finally told me, just read Yankee blogs, go to thrift stores. Don't be saving the world. You're much better used this way. And so the Urban Renewal Project ended, which was awesome. And that budget was used for different things. So instead of well, let's just get to the selfing. So selfing is an activity, mental activity. You're not doing it. You are not doing it. You are not the doer of it. There's doing of it, and it implies that you're the doer. Yeah? You cannot arrive at the doer but through the claiming of doing. Yeah? The doing needs no doer, but the doer completely needs doing. Yeah? Because the doer isn't inherent stable condition. It's the act of claiming the doing. Yeah? So without doing, there is no doer. Yes? Yeah? But without the doer, there's still doing. It's just that simple. So just look at the head. There's a conscious contact. Yeah. Consciousness or something that's working now is having an experience, and basically is meeting whatever's being met through the 5 gates and maybe the 6th gate of the mental, the mind. Yes? So there's the contact. The mental state arises in time. In time. It's a process. It's not a fact. It's a process in time. It arises and claims the seeing to imply there's a seer. Yeah? So the seeing seen now becomes the seer is seeing the seen. Yeah? And now you get a narrative. All day, every day, supporting that premise. Yeah? So all the obsessions that you think you have about other things is really to reinforce the identification as the doer, the thinker, the feeler, the haver, the loser. Yeah? So here it goes on. When you see it, there's a great statement by a Zen master, Hoang Po. He says, whatever can be perceived cannot be perceiving. Yeah. So whatever can be perceived cannot be perceiving. Yes, all of us. Yeah. Now go into your head and listen to the basic theme of this narrative, which is what can be perceived is what's perceiving. Yeah. Do you need to have like 800 hours of esoteric teaching? You just have to see that. Whatever can be perceived cannot be perceiving. Go to the head. The head's whole story is that which can be perceived is what's perceiving. It's just, it's not a real, there's not going to be a meeting and a mending and a meshing. It's completely different in a way, yeah? So now the basis is rooted in the act of seeing, not in the interpretation of the seer. Yeah? The emphasis shifts. You don't do it, because if you try to move it, you're trying to move it as the seer. And it's basically ultimately just going to reinforce the seer. Yes? You can't get out of it. You can't. It's like a Chinese thumb. Every little, no subtle move, extreme, radical, esoteric, it's still, yeah? Yeah, it just gets you. The beautiful thing is, what it gets isn't you. Yeah? This is a step back, maybe more than you thought was available. It's a step back. This is a very disarming message. You're just left with your own devices, and you'll see they're not yours. You do not have intellect. There's intellect. Yeah? This add-on, which causes a huge subtraction in our living, this add-on can be negated. Not by a mental denial, but by an awareness of it. Yeah? And all you need to do, hopefully, it's already available, it's already there, you may just need to hear about it. Yeah? And what I believe non-duality offers is an understanding that brings into stark contrast the misunderstandings that we're living by. Yeah? And like Ramana said, a great master, Ramana Maharshi, he's talking about a guy walking around and he's denying and avoiding. He finally realizes something's in his foot, hurts, takes off his sandal, and there's a big thorn in there. So he looks around the floor and he sees another thorn, and he takes that thorn to dig out the first thorn. He doesn't replace the first thorn with the second thorn. This is the message of non-duality. You're not going to see the negation of duality and now have another thing called non-duality. There's just the negation of duality. You don't move to another, I'm a non-dualist. It's not a two-step dance. It's one negation. You negate that, and therefore you don't play the role of the second one. Yeah? And then you can travel lighter. And what more do you want? Really? You're not going to transcend. You can't get out of an imaginary place. You can't get out of an imaginary place. You can't. See, there's two big movements that flip me out, really. So there's a movement of trying to get in to what you think you're out of and trying to get out of what you think you're in. Yeah? Remember all those books? You don't see them anymore. They had their heyday for about 5 years of how to get into the moment. Remember? I swear, you very rarely read the whole thing, but how to get into the moment. And then there would be the second edition, how to really get into the moment. And then probably how to stay in the moment. Yeah. But it's all predicated on an insane idea that you can be out of a moment. What's telling you that you're out of a moment? What? Do you hear it from the elbow? From your ass? From the ankle? No. It's brought to you by this. This is producing a lot of false evidence, and it waits, and it actually relies on it appearing real to us. Yeah? It needs that. That's the starting of the engine. Then it just riffs. This is a pause before that engine starts. The false evidence isn't seen as real. Yeah, and so there's a pause, there's the false evidence, and then the thing just fucking crumbles. It shrivels up. The giant gonads of selfing just shrivel up. Yes? Because you see it. That's all. Awareness is the one quality it does not have. That which is narrating doesn't see shit. It doesn't. It doesn't have a light in and of itself. It's reflected. And where is that? We are that reflection. We are that mirror. We are it. Yeah? So, I haven't looked for what I can't find for years, ever. I completely believe I can't be out of a moment, so I have no interest in getting in a moment. Yeah, it's just that simple. And this backdoor way works. It's like, I'll tell you a little story. Just remind me of I was going around the world, and I ended up in Turkey, and I was in Istanbul. And in Istanbul, there's two beautiful sites, the Blue Mosque and the Sophia. And Sophia is very cool because for hundreds of years, it was a Muslim temple And then they were cleaning the tiles, and some of them fell off, and there was a Christian church underneath it all along from the first century Christianity. It's unbelievable, really. The whole 1800 years, it was all Muslim, but it was the Christian was right there, the Catholic, whatever. So we were there, and we were trying to look around, and a guy came up very nicely dressed with salt and pepper, a nice haircut, and he spoke really good English. Says, "Hey, I'll show you around," and I'm always suspicious, you know. And so, but all right, and so he takes us around, and it's really nice. Then he brings us to this brick wall, and there's a little wood door, and he knocks on it, and a guy opens it up, looking just like him, and we were like a baton. The one guy just passed us to this guy, and he brought us into a rug emporium, you know, all Turkish rugs and shit, Oriental rugs. And they go, "Oh, what's your name?" I go, "Paul." They go, "Mr. Paul, do you want apple juice, Turkish coffee?" "I'll have a coffee." "Oh, come on in." And he brought us all in. They sit you down, and they put on this show. They bring these rugs out. They're throwing them around. It's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. But I don't have a house. I don't have a floor, Floor. And I'm very clear about that because I'm traveling around the world. I have nowhere to go. I have a backpack. So I have an immunity. I have a built-in immunity to the temptation of a rug. What am I going to do with a fucking rug? And I finally, after 3 hours, I explained to them, I don't have a house. And they said, "Well, we can fold it up. You can put it in your backpack." I'm not going to go to Thailand with a rug in my backpack. So that knowledge that I didn't have a floor had it built in an immunity to all the temptation because they were beautiful rugs. And the presentation was unbelievable. But I could have been there for 3 months. I'm not buying a rug. Yeah? This is what the message is like. There is somewhere in all of us that already knows. It needs very little of you leaning that way to fortify you the rest of this trip. Seriously. We're making shit out of nothing. Can you imagine what can be made out of something? If that attention goes there. Yeah, so to me it all boils down to traveling lighter. And it doesn't mean everything gets great. It means whatever life has in store for you, you travel lighter through it. And you will observe that over the years, and I feel like the action figure has certain levels that it can reach, which is gratitude, honor, or, which is the best suited for it. It's not a transcending astronaut or whatever, but it can have that feeling of being in good hands, or that something is doing for me what I can't do for myself. And it may seem flimsy, but it can be quite intimate for a person, yes? And that's its pay scale, yeah? So I feel this power move through, and I know it's doing for me what I can't do for myself. And over the years, this has gotten suited to it. It's in the sober of listening to it, yeah? And it doesn't need to be spoken, because it directs without saying shit, yeah? So like this, I didn't even read the schedule for this place. Maybe I should have, but I did, because why? I'm showing up. That's basically all that's necessary, yeah? And it's true. That's all that's necessary. So the idea of this selfing, to get back to it, so that's one of it. That had a very profound effect on me, because it's like when I ever hear a guy named Ramesh Balsekar, the first book I read was Who Cares, which I liked quite a lot. And I was it blew my mind. And so I decided I wanted to go see him, because he was old at that time, 85. I figured I'd see him before he passed away. So I went to Bombay, I went to see this guy Ramesh. And years and years later, some lady sent me a video, and she knows I don't watch videos, but she said, "You got to watch this video." So it was on Ramesh Balsekar, and I'm going, "Oh yeah, that's cool. That reminds me." And then someone's asking something, and it's me. So I was there, and when he went to see Ramesh, he was tired of speaking to everyone that was there, so the new person would have to sit right in front and talk with him. So he was asking me, "Hey, do you have a place to live in America?" I go, "Yeah." He says, "Do you work?" I go, "Yeah, I'm a house painter." He says, "Okay." So he says, Well, let's take a look at this. There's the personal and the impersonal awareness, let's say. Of course there isn't, but he was, using a picture. He says, all right, so Paul, when you go to work, do you have to chant you have a house all day? No. You know, even though you're at work, that you have a house. There's a knowledge, yes? It doesn't have to be, you don't have to look at a picture I have a house, I have a house. You have a house, even if it goes into overtime, it's probably not going to fool you. You know what I mean? You have a house, there's a knowledge there. And so you don't have to so here's the impersonal, or the personal, let's say, awareness, yeah? Thinking that it has to remember the impersonal, but it doesn't have to remember the impersonal, because you are the impersonal, you see? The believing that you have to remember the impersonal is reinforcing the personal. That's not a whim or a personal thing, it's a principle. As Ramana Maharshi once again said, if you ever read people wrote a lot about his teachings. He never really put it out there, but people wrote a lot about it. And if you read a number of people's writings, he says certain things all the time. And it's usually prefaced with the problem or the greatest mystery. So here's the one that got me from one of his little pamphlets. He says there's a presupposing of a non-existent thing. So pre obviously means time, yeah? So supposing or assuming, yes, so there's something assumed, like Amelia and I, we assume a store is open quite a lot, and then we drive there and it's closed, yeah? We don't call up, because we assume it's going to be open and it's not, and it happens quite a lot over the years. So in this case, there's a supposing or an assuming that the mental activity is doing. You're not doing it. This is the important point. You're not the doer of your own demise. You're not. It's a mental activity that's gone wild. It has you believing. It's sort of like in the recovery view, the parasite has convinced the host that it's the host. So the disease is talking to you as you. Yeah? And it's very difficult to discern what's true and false if you're looking from false evidence. If you're taking to be yourself to be the perceiving and see yourself as the perceived, that's false evidence. Whatever can be perceiving cannot be perceived. Yeah? So right there, there's a mistake. So here, there's this presupposing of a non-existent thing, which would be the body. Yeah? Being what? Existing. Yes? The body is not existing. Something's existing through the body. Yeah? But the body's not existing. I had an experience of that when I was young. When I was 9 years old, my Uncle Fred passed away. And my mother took me to the funeral, the wake, and he was laying in an open casket. And she said, hey, do you want to say goodbye to Uncle Fred? Now, I wasn't that keen on saying goodbye to Uncle Fred, but she walked me up there. And when I looked into the coffin, I realized that ain't Uncle Fred. I mean, there was the body that I was calling Uncle Fred, but Uncle Fred had left the house, so to speak. Yes? It was so super clear. I didn't need someone telling me it. It was just boom. Yeah? So the body is not what's existing. Something's existing through the body. Yeah? It's like the shaker, the smoothie, like the blender isn't making the smoothie. It's facilitating, it's electricity is making the smoothie. Yeah? The blender is built to translate that electricity into, blending fucking juice drinks. Yes? But it's not doing it, is it? No. So there's this presupposing of a non-existent thing being existing, which is where we're sitting in it right now. You're not doing it, the head is for sure. Yeah? And now, based on this situation, the non-existent thing wants to get salvation for itself. So he says, if this is the case, and the assumption was this is the case, then your spiritual practices themselves are reinforcing the non-existent thing. How can they destroy it? It's a good question to sit with. maybe your spiritual practices themselves are reinforcing that which you'd like to be relieved of. Who knows? Ooh, yeah, exactly. That's exactly how I felt when I heard it. And I keep feeling it. It always echoes the same way. Exactly. So that's disarming, isn't it? It's beautiful because you can't do anything about it. You see it, and then things happen. Yeah. The awareness of it is the key, because that which we're aware of doesn't have awareness. It's just activity, yeah? It's mental projection and shit. We have that one quality that it doesn't have, yeah? So it presents a lot of false evidence to divert and distract that. And really what the idea of Paul or Amelia or Jim or Monique is resting on is the existence of I am, really. But the I am and then Paul. And the emphasis is moved from the I am and it's put on Paul. And then the system reinforces that all day. Yeah, constantly. And probably you feel like you're doing it, which is the bondage of it. Yeah? You're not bound by what's happening. You're bound to thinking you are the one that's doing it. Yeah? And I'm here humbly to offer the possibility you're not. Yeah? So that's why peak experiences haven't changed much. That's why epiphanies seem to end. Remember the epiphanies? They usually would end in me when the thought, I'm having an epiphany arose. As soon as there was the claiming of the epiphany ended. Just very suspiciously. So we used to say, there's a great party, but when you get there, it sucks. It does. And this thing, see, there is time, there's a sense of, there is no time, and that's the pause. And the mental activity is of time. Yeah? Now, the mental activity of selfing implying a self, I don't think it can be beaten by any process in time. It's much faster. So you can even, when you're your ass is moving to sit on the meditation pillow, the head has you as a meditator already. It has, basically. Yeah? This isn't about stopping that, it's about seeing it. Yeah? How it starts is you and us. And it's through misunderstanding and not having heard the possibility. So here we are, just sharing it now. Yeah? And what we do is repeat it. People who have seen me like 10 years ago, they call me up. Anything new? There's nothing new. There's nothing new in non-duality, 2023. It's the same. And I feel it has a direction, which is negation. It's negating what's assumed to be so. It's not telling us what's so. Because to me, what's so is indescribable, incomprehensible. You can't understand it. Why keep trying to describe it? Let's describe what's describable. You can describe what you're not. It's an activity. Yeah? You can see selfing. Selfing claims what's going on, implies there's a you, and then the you's presupposed and feels like it's doing it all. Yeah? So the doing occurs, the doer arises, the doer now thinks it did all the doing. There you go. Yeah? That's basically the premise of the whole narration upstairs. Yeah? You're not going to beat it. You're going to lose interest in it. Yeah? The space is big enough. You can cohabitate it. Yeah? The idea of hoping for no thought is a thought. It truly is. There's plenty of thoughts, and you can be totally cool with it, because the power of the thought is through the mind. Yeah? Your thoughts aren't bothering me at all. They're not. But the same thoughts that are bothering you, if held as mine, could bother me. It's not the thought, it's the mind. Yeah? And the idea of the thinker is a thought, isn't it? It's just a crazy thought that says it's the thinker of all other thoughts. But it's a thought. Yeah? It arises and you're before it. You see it. Even though that's deflected and moved underemphasized, there's always a seeing of it. Nothing comes before us. Nothing. what we really are. We are the before with there's nothing before it, yeah? There's just awareness and everything else is appearing in it, yeah? You are it. So if you're the owner of the house and you know it, then the tenant that's masquerading as the owner will be seen, yeah? You won't be moving out. You won't, yeah? Because you'll just be so sure, whatever, it's just an invitation. We're going to pound away at it. If you want to stay, it's great. I think it works. I used to we never wanted to do retreats, But I remember we did stuff with Coco and Monique in Toronto, and it used to build up. There's a power that can build up after a few days. And to get clear, we're not trying to talk to you here at all. To me, you're the biggest obstacle to the message. Really. Yeah, you are. So I can't miss what I'm shooting for, but I know I can miss you because I can throw it over your head. And this is what happens. People used to complain to the people who set up the talks and say, hey, everything this guy says is going over my head. So they asked me. I said, that's where I'm aiming. I do not want you to get it. I don't. Because if you got it, it's not it. Yeah? So it's the hearing of the message, not being the hearer of the message. It's the giving of the message. There's no giver of the message. It's the giving of the message. Yes? I'm very clear. I've never missed a Paul Hedderman Satsang, and I've never attended one. Never, ever. Yeah? I learned that in recovery. When I was in recovery, I was speaking at these groups. And I used to have this one commitment, 16 years, every Monday night, if I was in the country. For 16 years. That's a lot of Monday nights, yeah? So I was in a lot of different conditions when I'd go into that meeting. Sometimes I had no money. Sometimes I was waiting to see if I had AIDS from the doctors. So my fairy princess broke up with me. I had a sinus infection. It didn't matter what condition I was in for this to come through. This coming through is not determined by this condition. This condition is irrelevant for this to come through. And it's been proven over and over and over again. We don't have a get ready, get set, go room. We just walk here and get up. Yes. I didn't prepare myself. What would you do to prepare yourself? It's already so. Yeah? You don't have to be in any condition. All conditions have no effect on that condition. I mean, 16 years of it coming through were pretty amazing, very convincing. And here we are. So if you have any question, let's draw it out. We've got a lot of time. And if I can just get a couple of things across, we're not talking about something that's going on that you did or are doing. You're not doing it. The mental activity is doing it. You're not doing it. Yes? You're not the cause of it. The freedom is really before the bondage. Yeah? Just like we were sharing in Palm Springs, people get relief, but that relief isn't really from the moment. It stands in and of itself. Relief is always available at all times. You may not have it, but it's always available at all times, and it feels pretty much exactly the same anytime you find yourself there. Yeah? So there's a relief or a peace before the bondage or the disruption or the unease. Yeah? There's a peace there. You know the solution from the solution, really. Yeah, so anyone have a question about it? Yes? Sorry, I've been staring at you. I like to focus on some lovely things. Who knows?
I appreciate it. So this piece that you speak of is here, I'd like to say.
Speak louder.
The peace is here, she said.
Yeah. And what really struck me in what you just said was the tenant. landlord thing?
Yeah.
Because that's what, I guess, what the thought comes in is this tenant keeps convincing me.
Yeah, it owns the house. Yeah, yeah. That's why it produces like that malaise they talk about in Buddhism. That vague suffering, because that which we're relying on or something is agitated, and it begets agitation. When it meets peace, it gets agitated about it. Just like here at these groups, if you looked at the effect, most of us would have been better off if we never heard the word awakening, really. We probably would have been having a better Saturday, and especially enlightenment, because one of the definitions of enlightenment is cessation of all suffering. Yet what happens when the head uses enlightenment? It produces suffering. You're not enlightened, they're enlightened. I don't know how they got there before me, and all this, yes? You don't need tons of examples, just look at it. Look at this here, just us could illuminate a whole book. Yeah, we could illustrate all of it right here. Just look at the narrative. What's the narrative based on? That which is perceiving, the subjective aspect of you, is the perceived, the objective aspect. That's duality. This is the negation of that. It's as simple as that. Yeah? You don't see duality as a stagnant philosophical idea. You see it as an activity. Duality is an activity. Yeah? It's like two sides of the same coin. No matter how many times you cut the coin, it's still going to have two sides. Yeah? It's never always going to be heads. It's never always going to be tails. Yes? So this comes with that. Yeah? If you believe you've achieved something, you'll believe that you can lose it. Yeah? This is not about having, so there's no fear of losing. Yeah. There's another old story I like by Ramana. He talks about this lady had a beautiful necklace, yes? Really loved the necklace, very happy about it. And then she loses the necklace and she's bummed out. Bums her out. And she starts bitching to her friends, complaining, and then they finally get together. Okay, we're going to find this necklace. So now they're looking for the necklace for her. And they hear about a guy who says he found the necklace up in the north. So they go to the Satsangs about, yes, you too can find the necklace. And so she's feeling some hope, but still she's bummed out. She's lost the necklace. Then one day, some guy comes and says, hey, why don't you feel your neck? So she feels her neck, and suddenly she finds the necklace. This is the story, but the necklace had always been there. She never lost the necklace. Yeah? So therefore, her being bummed out was an uncaused effect. Yes? Like they talk about in the Course in Miracles. An uncaused effect. Her effect that she was living out was based on the cause, which was losing the necklace, which never happened. And then the joy she had when she found it was also an uncaused effect, because she didn't find it. It never went anywhere. This is like the message. It's that simple. Yeah? Non-duality says, it's implying that you are reality now. Yeah? Or as St. Francis says, what's looking is what you're looking for. What's looking where? Now, here, now. Yeah? The seeker is not, and the sought. It's the seeker is the sought. It compresses time and space. Bam, like that. And you'll know when you get the downloads, they'll be immediate. Yeah? You'll get a whole lot of information in a nanosecond. It's not all like drip, drip, drip. Boom. Now it may express itself in months. Drip, drip, drip. But the whack is complete. Yeah? You get a feeling after a while. How are you going to know, like how do you know about gravity? Can you study it, but people go write books on it? Wouldn't it be the best way to know about gravity by going into an anti-gravity chamber? If the effects of gravity were removed, you would know freaking gravity. And you wouldn't be blaming it on the hill or the staircase. You would recognize it's gravity that's causing this, yes, this weight and shit. When you're always in the effect of it, you don't know it. Like the fish in the water. Unfortunately, the fish usually finds out how important the water is when it's pulled out onto the deck of the boat. Yeah? We have the opportunity to be in the water and to be of the water. Yeah? You can be aware of that. There's an intimation of it. By seeing what you are not, that's the intimation of what you are. Because you can't see what you are because you are it. You can't experience. There's no non-dual experience because there'd be no one to be able to tell you about the non-dual experience. This is being. That's why nothing works. All the doings and the havings and the gettings and the losings don't matter because you are it. You can't get around it. You are it. Now. Yeah? And then you can have a good day. Fucking here, wherever we are. Yeah? Yeah. I'm using this moment to move to the next greater moment. To me, that's slavery.
Would you say that seeing what's not is the process of wearing that down? I mean, it's like
Of course.
It just needs to get worn down, worn out.
It doesn't get worn down. There's just interest leaves. Because what causes us to keep following it, it's about us. So if you can work on that us, the interest will migrate to much more worthy and much more satisfying conditions like now. So now the attention and interest will enrich your day instead of the interest and attention being used to enslave you to yesterday and tomorrow. Yeah, but it is a loss of interest. And it's not a focused, concentrated laser beam. It's relaxed. You're disarmed because you've realized the futility of trying to get out of what you're not in. Really, it's true. And it's going to keep doing it. Self can't get out of self, and it doesn't believe that. It just doesn't. It believes it can get out of self. It just thinks it hasn't done it yet, or it's going to. It just keeps promoting this fucking lifelong slavery to an insane idea. So, yeah.
Would you say it's a loss of interest in the past and the future, but you gain interest in the present moment?
Well, yes, that's the effect of it, yes. But it's just a loss of interest. The interest will produce effects, and that's one of the effects, yes, for sure. Yeah.
Do you see this beingness as the same as love?
I could say love is maybe an expression from it, but I don't see the beingness. I don't see it, you know. So whatever it reveals, that's what I see, but I don't see it. Yeah, yeah. I'm not a big. To me, love has a lot of baggage in a lot of circles. I like the idea of mind, big M mind, or awareness and stuff. Yeah, but yeah, yes.
Is that which is the perceiver which can't be perceived the same as the witness?
It's not the perceiver, it's the perceiving. The perceiver would be a name the perceived would take on.
So is the perceiving
Yes.
the same as the witness?
No, the perceiving is the witnessing. There's no witness. I don't like the idea of nouns. There's witnessing, but there's no witness. There's observing, but there's no observer. Once you have the observer, it's sort of like, you go to the Colorado River and you get a glass of water and you think you have the Colorado River, but you've lost the rivering, yes? This is the thing. The observer is the selfing making an act observing into a noun. Yeah, and now you'll become a master observing, except the big fucking thumb sticking out of it all. Yeah, which is it's you. You know what I mean? So I don't like the word witness or observer. I like, witnessing, observing, thinking, feeling, tasting, touching, a lot of ings. When it goes to the ER, you're going to be at the emergency room. Yeah. The ER. Yes. Don't you feel it? It's seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching, yes? Isn't that the event? Seeing, hearing, feeling, touching, it can become aware or perceiving things. It's an activity, ongoing. It's not partitioned by day or hour or job, or it's just going. And of course, something arises, meets that, and brings about this idea of being the perceiver, the thinker, the feeler, the taster, and then the poles get emphasized and you lose the verbing. So now it's seer, seen, hearer, heard, feeler, felt, but the feeling, the seeing, the hearing seems to be underemphasized. Yes? That's the system's idea. The system is supporting itself. Yeah? It's supporting the world of now. Yes? Why? It's sort of like that story with the lady, finds the snake and it's hurt and she brings it back to health, and then she's walking it very, proud, and then it bites her and she's fucking surprised. Hey, Mr. Snake, why did you bite me? I'm a snake. Yeah? This system isn't changing. It's not going to become a service animal or fucking your amigo. It's got its own agenda. It's programmed, it has its limitations, and it has its directive, and it's not what you think it is. Yeah? So you see, this isn't about this shit stopping. It's about you seeing it with the idea it's not going to probably stop. So these wishful ideas of complete, there's always going to be the noun you in the void. There isn't. Yeah? I don't see it that way. And I've been seeing it a long time. Yeah. I don't see it at all that way. This is just seeing the constant arising of what you're not. Doesn't it feel like, does your head say, all right, today may be a day you're going to become self a lot? No, it says you already are one, doesn't it? Don't you start when the thoughts start at the idea you already are a self, and maybe how I can feel better or get out of it. Yeah. So it's premised the whole game already. So now, one of the only avenues that seems to be available is to try to get out of self, which is its perfect mechanism. That's the biggest in of self, is your desire to get out of it. It's the biggest field of inness of all. And spirituality is not exempt from that activity going on. It isn't. And the point is, it's good to know so you'll see it instead of look from it. Because you're going to be really bummed out after 20 years. I had it too. I remember there was a Buddhist magazine called Tricycle. Very nice, beautiful color. Had very good editorials. So this one I was reading, there was editorial by a famous Western meditation teacher. And he was describing this phenomena that was going on with all of his old students. They were getting in touch with him saying, hey, nothing's happened. So I read that. I canceled my fucking subscription to that magazine that day. I just pulled the emergency on the bus and got off. These people did a whole lot more, and they're telling me nothing fucking happened. I'm getting off. No, it's exempted. It's going to be different for me. No, it ain't. Yeah. You can't get out of what you're not in. Try as you may. You can't. I tried by shooting coke. I figured there would be a point before my body expired that I'd be free. Yeah? And all I remember, every time I was brought back with Narcan, the same scenario was there, the cops and the paramedics. And the movie was exactly the same. And I was super fucking pissed. Jesus Christ, I can't escape this place. Because why? Because I'm not in this place. I had this thing. Have you ever heard The Path of Love? It was from the Osho people. There must be Osho people here. I would think so. Yeah, so The Path of Love. It was from a thing called The Miracle of Love. I did that in Australia, like 2000, I think. And they could produce cathartic events. They had it down. So there'd be a lot of sharing, and then in the middle of the day, they'd clear the room, put all these mattresses, they had a DJ, and they had all these people Didn't say anything on the circumference, and they played music and people would just go off, you know what I mean? Just crying, going crazy, trances, kundalini. So this one moment, about the 6th day, I'm having this event and I'm crying, I'm going, I can never get back. I can never get, like I left the Godhead, you know. I can never get back. Oh, and they brought me out, the first person. I was held up as a great specimen. I can never get back. And then about a week later, I got the revelation, because you never left. Your heroic journey is made up. You never left. There's nothing you did that could change anything. What? So this is the whole point. That's why one of our books is called On Having Never Left. Because it's an old yogic thing. I saw it, Julie's yoga studio in Philly, and it said, it was a translation, gone, gone, gone to the other shore upon arriving on having never left. This is what's going to happen if you start entertaining this message. You're going to think you keep going, and then you arrive back, and every time you arrive back, it welcomes you with on having never left. And sooner or later, it's going to dawn on the system. Yes? It doesn't matter. All that frequent fire miles will be proved valuable, because they'll fail you. They will. That's their value. What can a failed system show us? It's failed. So you'll go out thinking you got this, and then you arrive, and when you arrive and they put the little flowers on it, they're going to whisper on having never left. You've never gone away. I'm far from it. I'm disconnected. It's all made up. It's always available at all times right where you are. It's inevitably there, and it's infinite, and your activities, the head's activities, are finite. You're never losing, ever. You can wait it out. It's going to run out. Yes? It doesn't have, it's like seeing the emperor with no clothes. I share this a lot because it made a big impression. When I was young, about 12, I saw my mother in a compromising position, nude. Yes? I saw stuff I probably wouldn't have wanted to see. And so every time I would see my mom, I'd see that picture for years. So this is the same thing of the old statement, the emperor has no clothes, yeah? So you'll see the mental activity as the emperor with no clothes. So what? So that you'll see it no clothes when it's wearing clothes. Seeing the emperor with no clothes isn't it. It's seeing the emperor with clothes knowing it has no clothes. Truly. That's really the message. Yeah? The message is, yeah, here's the reflection, you're a lion. The message is there's going to be an arising of the idea of being a sheep. And it's going to take your story, you're going to make a story out of it, and it's going to send you that way. It's not you doing it, it's mechanical. This is seeing the mechanicalness of the mental activity. Yeah? From the awareness. We're seeing everything from the awareness, we just don't think so. Whatever has been seen was brought to you by seeing, not by thinking, not by ruminating, not by whatever. It's always been awareness. So yeah, any more questions or we'll break soon, eh? Yeah.
Share more about not liking to use the word ego.
Well, all right. So let's say, people say they have an ego, yes? And then some people say they've lost an ego, yeah? Who is that had the ego? Who is that lost the ego? That to me is the sense of self. So I'm more interested in the sense of self than ego. The feeling of the one who has or owns or does the ego, to me, is more important than the objectification of ego. Yeah? That feeling. Isn't there a feeling when there's doing that you're a doer? It's a sense, yeah? It's a sense. It's not really true. It's a sense. So the sense of self is rooted in the I am, yeah? The I am, which is existence, where we are, yeah, is the platform for all the shenanigans of the mental activity. It covers the I am and uses its light, and it calls it Paul. So it's I am Paul, and now the interest is from Paul onward. And there's a lack of interest in the I am, to the point you may be looking for the I am as the Paul, all the while being I am. Yeah? I've seen it all. I mean, I used to do a lot of cocaine for 10 days. I didn't die. And if you want to see what you're not, I get more out of a 10-day cocaine retreat than I ever would out of a spiritual retreat. Seriously. Much more was revealed in those times than, going to the upper middle way and 3 organic meals a day and shit. No one goes to Newark for retreats, do they? Newark, New Jersey, Hoboken. They had those retreats that they acted like homeless people, but they knew they had a home on the 8th day. That's not the feeling of a homeless person. Yeah, you can't manufacture that. That's, yeah. I went to, there was a place in Northern California called Spirit Rock. It's famous. And we used to call it the upper middle way because it was pretty nice. The rooms there were better than the room I had at my house. So I did a retreat there once, and you'd meet a person in the morning, and then all day you'd just be roaming, sitting, meditating, or qigong or whatever. Yeah? So, and every day they have 6 o'clock, the bell would ring, and all these people would move towards the food area, and they'd be very peaceful. And then the 11th day, they put ice cream out, and it was incredible. I got there before everyone. I was just watching everyone, and they come in here, 11 days of deep meditation. See the ice cream. You see the head going. Someone immediately get a bowl of it, bring it to the thing, then go get dinner. Just the whole thing. The 12 days are out the window. Just with a fucking thing of ice cream. We're outmatched, Jesus Christ. More isn't going to change anything. Yeah, just admit it. You're not going to get it. Really. It's, what can a failed system show you? It's failed. It's showed us that. What is it you know that you don't want to know? You know it's not fucking working, but you don't want to know it because there's an identity with that. There's an identity as the seeker. Yeah, and so the seeking is necessary for the seeker. It may not be necessary at all, but for the seeker it's essential. The dead horse will tell you it's a dead horse. Then you get up, see what happens. Yes?
How can you explain to us that the truth is that we're all really one, but we see it as separation?
I don't go there that much. I think you'll find that out. Yeah? Yeah. I'd much rather find shit out than know it before I found it out. Yeah, it doesn't work for me that way. So we stick to one point pretty much, which is the recognition of what we're not. And then you'll find out a lot of that. Yeah. But I feel a lot of times it's like pulling out something out of the oven before it's ready. So then you have a concept of it and it becomes more of an impediment. Yeah. I don't feel, like one lady shared with me, I've lost my ego, but everyone else's ego is bothering me. It's just like I like the idea of I don't know in Zen, early Zen, because then you find out and things become revelatory. And I think we know too much, to tell you the truth. Yes? Yeah. And sometimes it seems like knowing's enough to replace the finding out, but it doesn't replace the finding out. Yeah? It's almost like that glass of the Colorado River. It doesn't have the rivering in it. I'm more interested in the rivering. I don't care, really. I see people, as individual objects. Do I take them as that? No. But I see it. Do I think they're moving? No. I think winds move us. If you look at greed, is that person greedy, or is there a wind that comes through people called greed? I would say it's the latter. I think like it's in the old Tibetan Buddhist view of the wheel of life. You ever seen that? The beautiful wheel of life with Yama, the god of death, holding it. It's like a story about what's going on here. And in the middle of it, it has pictures of 3 animals, rooster, I think it's a pig, rooster, and snake. Yeah? And those are hate, malice, envy, greed, and hate. Hate. Yeah? So those are the winds that are moving the wheel of life. Yes? Is anyone individually greedy? No, I don't think so. Is greed expressing? Yes, definitely is. Yeah. So this is how I see it. So winds are blowing, and to me, as an action figure, you're going to be directed by something. Yeah. You're going to be driven. You are more the car than the driver. You're going to be driven, and knowing that, I've had 2 distinct, extreme examples of being driven by addiction and then being driven by something, let's call it a higher power. Quite different, incredibly different. But the one constant was being driven. Yeah? So something's either coming through you, and it's either it's like a loop that reinforces the system that says it's coming through, which is the self-centered loop, or it's panoramic. You'll know the difference quickly. You'll feel it. You'll get old radio commercials from the old gravitational pull, but now you're in a whole new gravitational pull. Yes? Yeah. And these are like unspoken yeses, or knowing before knowledge. It's already available. And then finding out that everything is one is just much more tactile than knowing everything is one. Yeah, I just much rather go the finding out route. Yeah, so I was doing these things, and really I thought I should go into advanced stages, and whatever is dictating things to me just said, no, if you don't see what we're sharing here, you're going to be looking from it. Because it's going on. It's not you. It's not personal. The mental state claims what's happening and fits it into its narrative. And that narrative is self-centered. Yeah? It's centered on self. Yeah? The feeling of being a long-lasting, independent, separate entity is produced. It's a sense. It's manufactured. And it derives most of its juice by the claiming of the I am and calling it Paul or Mary or Jim or Sue. Yeah? There you go. You can beat the horse till it's dead, but it's dead. You just see it. See what happens. If you stick with us, we'll have some, this is all we do. We do 5 Zooms a week, do some live talks. And like I said, nothing's changed in years, the message. This doesn't advance. It's not like I don't put, this is extreme non-duality. There's no extreme non-duality. There's no radical non-duality. And I don't think it has to be hybrided with anything else. Yeah? The message is clear, yeah, of duality and the negation of it. Not a denial of it, a negation of it. Yeah? And a denial would be a mental reaction to it. A negation is the awareness seeing it. Yeah? Yeah.
So how do we stay in awareness?
You don't. You are always in awareness. You just think you're not. You think when something goes this, you think you go there. You don't. The head goes there. You don't ever leave. How many times have you come back? It probably gets you. Maybe you never left. I've come back to the same place so many times. Obviously, I never left, really. Yeah. So this is the difference. Instead of looking from the in, trying to get out, you're looking at the in from the out. Yes? Yeah. So then you lose interest in the in, and you lose interest in wanting to get out. And you find that the reason why you have no interest in getting into the moment is you can't be out of any moment. Yeah?
So you're saying it's a natural process?
Yes, very natural. Yes. The unnatural exactly. The unnatural process hopefully will be brought into stark contrast with the understanding of non-duality. That's the whole point. Not to replace it with this understanding, but to just have the misunderstanding diminish, and then this doesn't, then the other, it's like the difference between a view, which would be understanding, and vision, which would be awareness. So a view is essential when there doesn't seem to be a clear vision. Once the vision becomes obvious, there's no need for a view. Yeah?
Sure.
Yes, because the vision is the true reliability. Yeah? It's awareness. Yes? Everything that's ever been seen was seen through awareness. It's never been seen by us. That's the claiming. It's seen by us as awareness, but not by us as this. Never. Everything that's been seen has been from the seeing. Yeah? The seer never saw shit. It's just a story. It's true. Do you wake up in the morning at 7 and then start seeing at 8? You know? So I wake up and I decide, hold on. First of all, do I deserve to start seeing at 8? Probably not. I didn't do that much. And I said some nasty things to someone. But no, you're sitting there and then the eyes open. Does it demonstrate any thought or effort? Then why do you think you're going to get there through thought and effort? That which demonstrates no thought and effort, is it going to be approached through thought and effort? Do you think so? Isn't that insane? It's being what it is. Being. Being doesn't sweat. You know, I'm very hard being what I am today. No, it's pretty damn easy. Yeah. Doing is different, eh? Yes. So you're going to do what you need to do, and hopefully you'll have the eyes to see when you don't need to do anything. Yeah? So like some people call me, I really need to meditate. Well, then you better meditate. I don't feel like I need to do anything, so I don't do anything. Yeah? If I felt like I needed to do something, I probably would. Yeah? I'm not sworn on anything. I'm going to die on this hill. I'm just going along with how it's presenting itself, yeah? If it said, Paul, you got to work on this, I would. But I don't get any of those messages. Yeah? So if you feel like you really have to do something, you better do it until you realize you didn't have to do it at all. It's valuable. Everything is valuable here, and most of it is through failing. It's failed. Why do you think saviors always fail us? They have to. We don't need to be saved. It would be a fucking drag if you were saved, because then you would probably do something to be unsaved. Yes? Yes, for sure. Or then when you hear the one who saved you needs saving himself, then maybe your save would be, yes?
Yeah, I didn't realize tonight. I can only be good so long.
So this is about realizing you don't need to be saved. I swear, you can never get back to where you never left. You have to believe that you could leave to want to get back. Is that you that's believing that, or is it the head that's believing that? I don't believe you believe that. I believe you've been led by the head to believe it. Yeah? This message, people get the aha, resonates and stuff like that, and then they go home and think about it, and then it's all fucked up. But the whack of recognition is so immediate, yes? And it didn't seem to have to go through with a machete. It just, yes? It's cut right through whatever you think you are immediately. Why do you think it doesn't have to be? It's not that way? It doesn't see the door that you've put up. It doesn't. This wall, if you took it down, you wouldn't have to replace it with space really fast. It's appearing in space. It's not taking up any space. It's appearing in space. We're appearing in space. When I move, is space 165 pounds lighter? No. I have no weight. There's no heaviness. Everything is appearing in this space. Yeah? Nothing is taking any of the space up. this will be knocked down and there'll be no signs there was ever a fucking wall. Except for you having memories there was a wall. Yeah? There'll be no evidence there's a wall. There'll be no evidence there was Paul. It's right here. Just read the 3 books, get a t-shirt, and I guarantee tomorrow you'll be feeling a lot better. Let's make it Tuesday because we'll leave on Monday. No, I'm serious. So, anyone else have a question? Or whatever, share? We'll go into it. Some of my friends will remind me of some older stories. But yes, honey.
Could we have a song?
Oh yeah, we can have a song. Fantastic. Brenda, could we have a song? Oh, thank you. That's very nice. Yeah. And then we can go to lunch, eh? What? Yeah?
It's still pretty early.
Oh, is it?
It's only 11:30.
What time we're supposed to go to? 1. Oh, all right. Well, let's just take a 10-minute break. She'll sing and then we'll come back. How's that?
Do you want me to sing it before the break or after
No,
the break?
now.
Oh, now.
Yeah. I'm going to just walk over there and then come back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and this is a song of negation. You
it
like
is.
this one,
Oh,
right?
good.
Nirvana
Believe
Shad.
me.
Should I go over there? Okay. So it's fun. I get to hang out with Paul in different cities, and never thought it'd be in Mexico that we'd get to do this. So this is the lyrics are by Adi Shankaracharya. Forget exactly when he's from. 800 AD maybe? And he was like 8 years old, and some people encountered him and asked him, like, who are you? Because he was just wandering. And this song is his answer to the question, who are you? And so it's a song, it's in Sanskrit, but it basically is saying, I am not the mind, I am not the body, I am not fire, nor that which is burned, things like that. And there's a refrain, and that is, Chidananda Rupa Shivoham, Shivoham. So we can sing that together when we come to that refrain. It is I am Shiva, pure consciousness, in the form of pure consciousness. I don't know if you'll be able to hear it. Okay. Do I sit in Paul's chair? Okay. You can hear the guitar? Mano buddhya hankara chitanina nutra shrotra jive nocha grana netre nocha vyoma bhumi noche jona vayu chirananda rupa shivoham shivoham chirananda rupa shivoham shivoham. Nocha prana sanyo nove pancha kosha nova sabda datuna va pancha kosha nova pani pado nocho pasta payu chirananda rupa shivoham shivoham chirananda rupa shivoham shivoham. No punyam, no papam, no sakyam, no dukam, no mantro, no tirtam, no veda, no yajna. Aham bhajanam neva, bhajanam Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham No me mritya shangha No me jati bandha Ita neva me neva Matana janma Na bandur na mitram Guru neva shishyam Chidananda rupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda rupa Shivoham Shivoham Aham nirvikalpo Nirakala rupo Vibhyo vyapya sarvatra Sarvendriyanam Salame samatva Namuktir nabanda Chidananda rupa Shivoham Shivoham 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 Chidananda rupa Shivoham Thanks. Oh yeah, here it is.
It had to do with the holy relationship, but it's a breaking up, it's a very apt description of what we're not, yes? See? And then remember that which is going to say it's hearing about what it's not is what you're not. Yeah? So this yodel has like two calls. You know what I mean? You yodel and then there's a response and then there's another response. You see both of them as not you. Yeah? So, are you ready to go? Can you hear me back there? Yes. All right, so first, thank you. Yeah, let me see if I can find it. I know it's around 460 something, I think. Yeah, I got it right, actually. Cool. But first I want to, people know Ramana Maharshi, yes? You've heard of that? You've heard of self-inquiry? Okay, so if you read some of the stuff attributed to Ramana Maharshi, he says the one who's asking the question, who am I, is not you, and the one that's being asked the question is not you. So the one who says, who am I, and then the one that responds, let's say me, neither of them are us. It's a negation. It's a tool. It's not leading one to some other place. It's the negation of both. So the asker of who am I and the asked, the target of it, are both not us. Yeah? You are the seeing of everything. You can't be seen. You can't be had. So, who am I? And then you're waiting for something to answer. That which asks the question is not you, and that which answers it is not you. And then when they negate, there's a pause, that's us. Yeah? You can't define it, you can't categorize it, it's just an isness, let's say, a sense, yeah? It's like the sense of I am unadorned by the mental paraphernalia. And you feel it. We have it in recovery a lot. They call it a pause. It seems to be given when you get into relief from the bondage of self. You have this sense of pause where that which you thought was you stops, and yet there's something that continues, which is that silence, which is us. Yep. So, in the Course in Miracles, on page 468, under the message of the holy relationship, I like this description, and hopefully, you'll hear something out of it. So, first, we have heard a very similar description earlier. That's supposed to be a couple of chapters before. I don't go there, really. Just go here. But yet we have heard a very similar description earlier, but it was not of you. Yeah? So what can be described is not of us. We are the indescribable. What can be known is not of us. So you can know what you're not. Yeah? You cannot know what you are because you're being what you are, knowing what you're not. Yeah? You see the feeling? It's different, but it's seamless. It doesn't vary. Once you get into this stream, it doesn't divert and turn into something else. It's negation, and then the sense of space that's available when what's filling up the space is negated. Yeah? The space never actually gets filled up with all that stuff. It just appears in it. But the negation of it gives you a sense of the space, not the content in it. Yeah? Yeah. So by seeing what you're not, by recognizing what you're not, you get an intimation of what you are. It's almost like a boomerang shot. Boom. You have, instead of trying to from here go to here, you negate there, and then it sort of like sonar hits here. Yeah? Yeah. So he goes, yet we have heard a very similar description earlier, but it was not of you. That's beautiful right there. I mean, you could just stop there, really. Because any description you're going to hear is not of you. Earlier, later, now, then. But still, this strange idea, which it does accurately describe, you think is you. Yeah? There you go. So hopefully, in some crude manner, we're trying to accurately describe this which is not of us. Yeah? Why would we want to describe what we are when we can find that out by seeing what we're not? Do we want to clutter it up more with conceptual ideas of what we are? Why not we just let's be naked or more streamlined and just recognize that which is wanting to find something out is in us. And then you will find out that you're not that. And then the sense of whatever, love, these things you won't be seen as the source of it as this. You'll be seen as an effect of the source, which is moving through. Yeah? Yeah. So reason would tell you that the world you see through eyes that are not yours. Now the Course uses the word reason. I think you could say wisdom, but reason would tell you that the world you see through eyes that are not yours. No? Yeah? Yeah, you're seeing the world through these eyes, yes? That's the functionality. They're not yours. It's not saying you're not seeing the world. It's not saying there's no eyes. It's just saying they're not yours. That's all. It's just negating a manufactured owning of shit you have nothing to do with. Literally. So reason would tell you that the world you see through eyes that are not yours must make no sense to you. Yeah? You ever see sometimes you're really going off and a little kid is looking at you and it makes absolutely no sense to them that you're not out playing with them in the yard because you're worrying about your taxes or something. Yes? It just makes absolutely no sense to them. Yeah? It makes no sense to my dog that I have something better to do than play ball with her. Absolutely no sense. And she won't stand for it. She just keeps dropping the ball, follows me to the next room, drops the ball until I finally submit and do what she wants. Yeah? And then it's new every freaking time. I can leave for 3 weeks and I'm met with the same reaction if I left the room for 5 minutes. She's totally flipping out seeing me. I just been here 5 minutes or 3 weeks. There's a different flavor of time flowing, yes? So reason would tell you that the world you see through eyes that are not yours must make no sense to you. To whom would seeing, this is a nice question, yeah? So to whom would seeing such as this send back its messages? So you could look at this seeing, such as this would be self-centered, yeah? So it's a way of seeing that everything pertains to you. You see everything as how it pertains to you. It's self-centered, yes? Most of us are looking in a self-centered manner. We're looking through a glass of self-centeredness, yeah? What's looking through is not self-centered. The awareness goes through the glass, yes, and then it's directed by the mental state, yeah? And that which is seeing turns into a form of looking, which turns into a way of being blind to the seeing. And we're actually using the seeing, masquerading as me looking, to look for the seeing. All right. To whom would seeing such as this send back its messages? Surely not you. It's a beautiful use of the word surely. It's so obvious to this that surely not you. I mean, what? Yes? Yeah. It's like hard to believe that this continues. So, surely not you, whose sight is wholly independent of the eyes that look upon the world. So the sight, I believe, that speaking of is awareness, yes? It's not the sight that is facilitated through the eyes, it's awareness, yes? A different sight. Captured in some by the third eye type thing, yeah? The third eye obviously isn't an eye. The all-seeing eye isn't an eye seeing. It's, yeah. So, to whom would seeing such as this send back its messages? Surely not you, whose sight is wholly independent of the eyes that look upon the world. Totally independent. Okay? If this is not your vision, what can it show to you? I throw it, it's not your vision. I throw that in. But if this is not your vision, how can it be of value? By showing it's not your vision. The greatest successes are the failures of the systems we're relying on. They fail. Yeah, after you get through the dank water of thinking you're the doing of it, you'll recognize it's not you, it's the fucking system. The horse is dead. It's not because of you, it's because it's dead. Yeah? It didn't die because you were riding it. Yeah. So if this is not your vision, what can it show to you? It's not your vision. Instead of a world, instead of a narration, and instead of everything based on its view, what it can truly show us is not a world, but that it's failed. So maybe by believing it's your eyes, and finally maybe being cast into question that it could be a pair of glasses, maybe, just maybe, you'll raise your hands and check it out. And because you're not going to be able to take off your eyes, but you can take this off because they're glasses. What you're seeing is not what's being seen through the glasses. The glasses are distorting it. It's not distorted, but here it's distorted after moving through the glasses. What do you want to keep getting new glasses to correct the old glasses? You're going to be going to spiritual optometrists, on and on and on. What? Osho, this, that, Yes? No, recognize maybe they're glasses. I can take them off. But they've told me I can't see. Yes, of course they did. They're in the business of selling glasses. So the brain, this is one of my favorite statements of this whole book, though I've never read the whole book. Sorry, I haven't. If this is not your vision, what can it show you? The brain cannot interpret what your vision sees. So what does it do? It interprets what the eyes see. It can't interpret what we see, so it interprets what the eye sees. Yeah? And it gives us that world. And we are now a participant, actually the main thing in this world of things. Yeah? And if you keep listening to it, you're going to be living from that. Yeah? And maybe you'll have a desire to change, but you'll try to change it as that which you're not. Which all that does is reinforce what you're not. So the brain, and this is the part I really love, the brain interprets to the body of which it is a part. So you have, why? What is it doing? It's simple. It interprets to the body of which it is a part. So the organ of a body, the brain seemingly, interprets life to the body. Wow. I can't believe that. Obvious, yes? The brain is looking for the body's survival. Yeah? The brain interprets to the body of which it is a part. But what it says you cannot understand. You have to, yet you have listened to it. I'd say ad nauseum, really. Because it's about you, isn't it? You know, if I came and if I had, let's say, James's yapping going on, and I saw it as Paul, I would lose interest in about 5 minutes. But if it's Paul's, I've been a devotee of 60 years listening to it. It's obviously not the quality of the show, it's that I'm the star of it. Really. The show pretty much sucks, really. The production value is bad. It's like when you were a kid, I used to watch that show, The Avengers, with Emma Peel, and it was great, you know what I mean? And then when I saw it when I was older, they weren't in a car. It was just a fucking car, in a slot. They weren't moving. It was the scenery, and you could see cracks in the walls. It wasn't even a house. It was just on a stage, and it lost a lot of its veneer, its gloss, because my kid, when I saw it, it was all. Wait a minute, the door was flimsy. There's nothing. You know what I mean? They were always in the MG, but they weren't going anywhere. The scenery going by. Yeah, I relied on those eyes. They told me about a world. Yeah, so you have not realized it is impossible to understand what fails entirely to reach you. Haven't you realized that? Probably somewhere. You may not like it to come up, but isn't it something you know that maybe the head doesn't want to know? You have not realized it is impossible to understand what fails entirely to reach you. You have received no messages at all, you understand. For you have listened to what can never communicate at all. That I definitely have that I agree with completely. This narrates, critiques, but it doesn't live. It doesn't have a light of its own. It's reflected, yeah? It's taking the I am and then putting it as a spotlight on Paul. and lighting up all the mental activities with the memories. What are you pictured as in your memories? As a body. If you were in Hawaii 3 years ago and you have a memory of it, you're pictured as a body, yes? When you're worrying about your condition in the future, isn't it a body? The mental system sees you as a body. You know what an impediment that is for you to become spiritual? You're going to try to become spiritual as a body. You can graft it, it's not going to stick. It just doesn't. This is in recovery. Instead of seeing a spiritual condition from a mental and physical condition, you see the mental and physical condition from the spiritual condition. That's the big shift. Yeah? You see you are what you're looking for already. And so it severely diminishes the drive to keep looking for it. It can almost extinguish it like that. And then you're available, and then you're of service. Because you're present. And that is not a condition we achieve or acquire, it's our condition. And if you're present, you're going to be available. And if you're available, you're of service. It happened to me. When I came in to recovery, there was such a strong sense of terminal uniqueness. It was unbelievable. No one had my thoughts. No one felt like I did. No one did the heinous things that I did. Then I go to meetings for a couple of months and people are sharing about their thoughts, their feelings. And I came to two conclusions. How did they get my thoughts? Or they're not my thoughts. What? They're not my thoughts. They're not my feelings. You have thousands of people who think they're so unique, and yet in addiction they drive to the same 3 parking spaces, institution, jails, and death. All the way they're blaming themselves when they're being driven by a parasite. They never recognize the driver because they think they are the driver. And they are that which is driven, not driver, driven. You're driven by music. You're not the driver of the music. Yeah, you're driven. So, you have received no messages at all you understand. If you look at the thought system, you can see its value immediately. It uses now to think about yesterday and tomorrow. Do you really have to go through tons of study? We have a story about alien race, and they're there and they're going to come to Earth and check it out, and they get a 10-year scholarship and grant, and they fly to America. They land in America, and after about 5 minutes, they call up their planet, and they go, we learned all that we need to know. Hey, you got 9 years, 364 more days. He says, any society that puts profit over health of their citizenry is insane. Don't have to talk about it. It's fucking crazy. Yeah? Why talk about the 5th lemon of the year? It's the fucking root sucks. So here you are, we're established in a system, yes, that has failed us, yet we're relying on it to bring us success. We're using that which cannot bring us to where we are because we're already here to get us there. This is what it says in AA. Hey, fear is based on self-reliance. Most people believe fear is a cause, yes? But in AA, in recovery, fear is actually mental anxiety in most cases, is produced by self-reliance. So if there's self-reliance, there's going to be anxiety, yeah? Now you try to get at the anxiety as the self-reliant one, which just promotes more anxiety, yeah? What would be the highest form of reliance, identification as? You couldn't be more relied on James than if you were calling yourself James. It's like those horror movies where the lady starts acting like the starlet, dressing like her, going out with the same guys, killing people. It's just fucking insane. And yet that's what's happening here. We're basically relying on that which has failed us over and over again. Denying what, this is beautiful. If this isn't pure negation, I don't know what is. To me, this is high level. All right. Think then. Please not. Don't do that. But think then what happens. Denying what you are and firm in faith that you are something else. Now, if you stop someone here today and said, hey, you're in the act of denying what you are. No, most people wouldn't. But because you're identifying with what you're not, you're in the act of denying what you are. It doesn't seem like it's direct, but that's the condition, yeah? Here, beautifully, beautiful. Denying what you are. So that's a present activity. It's not like you denied what you were. And no. Right now, the mental activity is in the act of denying what you are. Really, take the clothes off the emperor. It's in the act of denying what we are. Subtly, grossly, repetitively, yes? And firm in faith that you are something else. So the faith, that would be... See, I believe faith is a force, a big M mind, a force. And it's going to manifest by the vehicle it's put in. So I saw what faith does with the mental activity. It produces a fucking hell that I would do anything. The alcoholic of my type would put up with any consequence tomorrow not to feel uncomfortable now. That was completely produced by faith in the thoughts. Completely. Faith is going to manifest by the vehicles put in. If that faith is allowed to move from that and put into, let's call the higher power, the infinite, that's going to enrich your day. The same faith that enslaves you to yesterday and tomorrow will enrich your day now. Exact same faith. Yeah? It matters where it's going and what's directing it. And you can tell, after you get some free samples, you definitely can tell the old employer and the new employer. You can. So here, denying what you are, and I'm telling me that what's going on, and it's not you, is in the act of denying what you are. You are not in the act of denying what you are. The mental state is in the act of denying what you are. You and I are not. We are the observing. We are the audience it's playing to. Yeah? We are not the mover and shaker. We're it. We are the awareness. What's doing it is not of us. It's the mental activity. The mental activity is in the act of being identified as self, which is the denying of what you are, and it's the faith being moved to what you're not. And then we live the effects of that. Yes? Looking for relief, not from it, but as it. This is the bondage of self. The bondage of self is an ongoing activity. It's not a day. It wasn't a handcuff. It wasn't a situation. It wasn't a prison sentence. It happens in temples everywhere. So, denying what you are and firm in faith that you are something else. This something else that you have made to be yourself becomes your sight. I disagree with this. I would say this way. This something else that your head has made to be yourself becomes your sight. I do not believe you're doing it. I don't. I believe the mental activity is doing it. This is really the great out of this imaginary in. It's not volition. It's not choice. You're not fucking wrong once again. Who'd want to see this evidence? Who is going to have a fearless and thorough look at this if you think it's you doing it? I've had enough of me being revealed as the doer. I don't want to see anymore. I fucked people over. I did this. I did that. I separated from the Godhead. I have the guilt among all the guilts. Yeah? You're going to pile on? I don't want to see this. Ignorance is bliss. But if it's not of me, I have fucking clear perception. I have very clear perception. I can see it thoroughly. Yeah, if you take the disguise, if you take the mask it's wearing as you off, you'll tell the truth about the emperor with no clothes. You will. Denying what you are and firm in faith that you are something else. This something else that you have made to be yourself becomes your sight. So what do you mean? You're relying on it. obviously. Yet, it must be the something else that sees and as not you. I don't see how clear you can't make it any clearer. There's seeing, yes, as not you. This isn't about changing the seeing, it's questioning the seer. The seeing will change in and of itself if you take the saddle of seer off. Now just tell the truth about it. The horse will throw it off on its own. So, let's see. Yeah. Yet it must be the something else that sees and as not you explains its sight to you all fucking day. And its sight about yesterday and its future sight. Yeah, it has a field day. Now's not enough. It puts past and future in there. It's amazing. In what's not happening, anything can happen. Really. You can be super rich and feel destitute. Anything can fucking happen. In what's happening only has one quality, but it's the one quality what's not happening doesn't have, which is it's happening. Yeah? It really is. It's happening now. This doesn't, I have to accept what's happening. No, I don't. It's happening. You don't have to accept shit. Yeah? I'm not hoping someone who's not here to be here or someone who's here not to be here. All I got to do is see exactly as it is. Is that difficult? All right, so there's something else that sees and as not you explains its sight to you. So where are you hearing the explanation, yes? Yeah. Your vision would, of course, render this quite unnecessary. The awareness, yes, would render this quite unnecessary. But somehow or another, there seems to be a distraction or a sleight of hand that's emphasizing the Paul instead of the I am. The vision would be I am. The Paul is the story. That's the viewer. Your vision would, of course, render this quite unnecessary. And I'm saying it can render it now quite unnecessary. The vision hasn't gone anywhere. Every moment you've been looking, there's been seeing. The looking wouldn't be looking if it didn't have awareness to jump on. Yes? It's always available at all times, right where you are, with no requirement necessary other than the ones you're making up. Your vision would, of course, render this quite unnecessary. Our vision. Of course, meaning definitely. This vision will render this quite unnecessary. Yet if your eyes are closed and you have called upon this thing to lead you, yeah, asking it to explain to you the world it sees, you have no reason not to listen. Now you do. I hope. Now you have a reason, I hope. You have no reason. And you have called upon this thing to lead you, asking it to explain to you the world it sees. You have no reason not to listen, nor to suspect that what it tells you is not true. Well, now you do. And now you should suspect it. Yeah? If that which we are isn't lent to it, and there's a pause, you will see what was taken to be true as false. You don't wait for the truth to tell you it's false, or the false to tell you it's true. You see it. There's a pause. That's us. We are there before the motor of time kicks in. We are. It seems so fast, but only when you're wearing the lens of time. It can feel like an eternity, that pause. It's there where everything gets revealed. I believe in Satsang. I believe you have the eyes to see and the ears to hear. All you got to do is hear it, yes? Some people get whacked. Some people have cathartic events. Some people get living master, whatever. Well, some people get it through Satsang, yeah? It's not, they don't get it through Satsang. They get what they need in Satsang to trigger this incredible obviousness. where it's met with these words from supposedly the mind of Christ. Surely, of course. I mean, obviously, they're basically saying, yeah, all this would be academic and unnecessary. But the thing is, we have to get around the hearer and allow the hearing to continue. Because the hearing gets claimed, and now you're the hearer of this message, and it's been neutered. You've taken the rivering out of the river. You haven't, the head has. It loves fucking sterile dead shit. It loves dead masters. If your dead master that you profess to love so much, if they showed up and told you, there's nothing you need to do, after they left, you'd probably do something in about 10 minutes, because the real master is still there. That head is playing God, isn't it? You wake up in the morning and it tells you how this day's going to be. That's playing God. It has no freaking clue what's going to happen. Yeah? But yes? This is what we run into in recovery. You've got to quit playing God. It doesn't work. Yeah? Now, if you, unbeknownst to you, you're believing in the act of playing God, that is going to be the hearer of the message. You got to quit playing God. It's going to attempt to quit playing God, which is playing God. Ad infinitum. That which is playing God cannot quit playing God. Its attempt to quit playing God would be playing God. Ad infinitum. Let it play God. Yeah. It has to get your juice, really. Without your juice, you're going to see the adult production quality of the Avengers. You're going to see, wait a minute, that's not even a wall. They're not in a fucking castle. They're not even driving on the road. It's scenery. Yeah. What's going to happen? You'll being firm in faith and there's something else, the faith is going to move. Yes? The firm in faith will be broken by the simple recognition it's not about you. And you'll lose interest in it, and you're going to gain interest in what? Love, oneness, whatever. Find out. But that doesn't need to be foretold. It needs to be found out. What needs to be shared is a description of what we're not, so there's a recognition from what we are. Yeah? Because that seamless logic doesn't change. It never switches to you. It doesn't. It's negation. Beautifully. Beautifully. It doesn't go, and then you take over and you become something. No. It's just a negation, and then there's no turning around, now I'm going to look for what I am. No. There's no turning around. It's just negating. That's it. What? And then see what happens. Its movement in me it stopped completely. That's been its inherent movement in the last 20-something years. It just stopped completely. I was walking around with my pants down. It was uncomfortable for a while. But I got used to it. Yeah? I'm not going to get anything. This is not the chariot of the gods. I'm not going to be lifted. My surrender isn't going to be on a cliff with wind blowing my hair, with previous girlfriends and hopefully future girlfriends adoringly looking at me. Oh, no, it's not going to be like that. It's going to be like dog shit awareness. You're just basically awake. You're just fucking awake, incessantly. Your head doesn't like it. Most people who are looking to be awake, they want to go to sleep, really. Really, the head's on too much, isn't it? This is incessantly on. You're going to feel more than you ever felt. You are. You're going to feel tons of shit that used to be blocked out. You will. You'll feel every second your description of your condition would have to change because there's so many moving parts going on. It's pointless to say, oh, how I am. Yes? You're going to feel tons of stuff. You're going to be alive, really alive. And you'll be, to me, it changed the basis of this life. I'm content and satisfied. I'm not looking for much, yeah? Except for a leather store here. I'm looking for leather bags, maybe. Yeah, so if anyone knows a good one, talk to me later. There may be a free book in the deal. I don't know. But, it's just been, yeah, I'm happy to be here because for the action figure, it's its purpose. It's like a seed assignment. Yeah, I didn't see this as a career. People call me and they think, I want to go into speaking. I said, well, I don't know if it's sort of like that. It's not like a career option. I could see that I had effects on people and I could see patterns that they weren't seeing. So here you go. I'll put it out there and see how it goes with you. Hopefully you'll travel later. Yeah? And if your spiritual budget, you save a lot of money from these talks, just tithe about 10% of what you would have spent going to those countries on those retreats to Zen Bichla. I think that's fair. You save 3,000, send me 1,000. It's definitely going to work, I swear. I haven't done shit. All I've done is satsang, really. All I've done is come here. And I feel so much happens with doing nothing, really. Yeah, I do. I'm firm in faith in satsang, as it says here. I'm firm in faith in satsang. I am. I've seen people's facial structure change on Zoom. Yeah, just by hearing this message. So, I think that's it for now. Yeah, can we stop soon? We'll regenerate. And, I just want to tell you the truth in a lot of ways. This is an invitation, and sometimes that's why we already done one retreat, and that was to go to Italy, really, and mostly see Italy, and it was wonderful. But we tend to want to. Usually the talks are short and shit because it's an invitation, like go to dinner at 9. And what happens is, after the invitation, I go to the dinner because some of you are sitting, here's the dinner, and you're sitting this way, looking at the kitchen door, trying to figure what you're going to get with these smells, and all you got to do is be turned, and there you go. Everything's there. Yes? You've got to follow the lion when it starts taking itself to be the sheep. Yeah? I'll give you one more story with Ramana. There's a guy who his job is he's got this huge package of stuff and he has to deliver it to Bombay. And he's not that close to there. Yeah? So he knows his happiness is that he'll be relieved when he gets to Bombay. And so he's going through. So the guy sees him and says, hey, listen, right around the corner is the train station and there's a train to Bombay every hour. Yeah? So he's done his job, he's passed the message along. So the guy goes to the train, gets on it, and the guy's walking, feeling good, he did a good job, he's walking around, and he sees the guy and he's still holding the big bag on his head. Yeah? So he has to get on the train and say, listen, bro, the train's going to take the bag too. You can put it down. Yes? So this is what the message is like. The message is you got to be an eye and ear doctor. And also a divine proctologist, because the head likes to go up the ass quite frequently. But usually as an ear and eye doctor, you just got to check how people are hearing it. Yeah? Yeah? So, all right, well, let's have lunch. Yeah? Is that good? Oh, wait a minute. Which number?
Page number.
This was 468, the second paragraph under the message of the holy relationship. Yeah, check it out. I think it's pretty good, eh? Did you see that it didn't lose? It stayed with the knot the whole way? Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah. Hey, thank you so much for having me. Are we supposed to come back later? Oh, we are.
Okay. We're going for lunch, and we'll be back at 3.
Oh, at 3.
And there'll be cake.
And cake. Oh, that should get you back. What, I'm not good enough? You gotta have cake also?
Where did we put our donations? And anyone who would like to donate that hasn't, please give them to me. I had a little box, but my friend Russ, the Buddhist priest, taken it now. So I'm the collector of donations.
And
Yes.
is cake at 3 or before 3? Like, is Paul starting at 3?
In that vicinity.
Have-
in that vicinity.
First, let them eat cake, and then we'll start.
Yeah, we'll cut the cake and then we'll start. There's going to be a lemon cake,
I like-
my
like
Italian
that
lemon
one.
cream, and I made one that's for him, and it's my mocha cappuccino madness. So it tastes like a
You
cup
could
of
possibly
cappuccino.
have a slice.
Yeah. So we'll see.
And that is the level of donation.
Yeah.
That's the size of the
Yeah.
pie.
And we are at Village Angel tomorrow as well in
What
the
time?
afternoon, 1 o'clock till 4.
Oh, that's nice. That's very nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
We go to another meeting, small meeting in the morning. But yeah, we'll be back here at 3 and have cake and listen.
And we have one on Monday also.
Yeah, and that's at, I don't know if everyone knows Dawn, the channeler. She channels Saint Germain at her house. Yes.
At 10, right?
At 10. And it's 114 Guadalupe, Victoria.
And we'll be, Saint Germain will talk for 5 minutes, then I'll talk, and then Saint Germain. Like a tag team.
We'll
right.
see you guys in a little bit.
It's just an offering, just like borrowing a pair of glasses, and then you'll see something, and then when you take off the pair of glasses, you'll still see it. Yeah? And so this unsuspected thing becomes recognized, and then more gets revealed. Yeah? Because when you, in a way, when you get a sense of being before the camera, it's before the camera. You've got to trust yourself sooner or later. There's no going past that. There's no one past a certain point. Yeah, and all the seeing is really from here. And what happens is, by the act of being identified with the head, that seeing gets funneled through that idea and turns into a form of looking, which is called self-centeredness, really. And to me, looking is just an injection of time into seeing. Yeah. Seeing is sort of like a panoramic type gazing. Looking has an intent. There's something there, and it affects something. And to the point where that which is seeing is looking for itself. It's that insane. And this is what you say these things with the hopes that it triggers it in you sooner or later. Yeah, this isn't an academic understanding. It's meant to trigger an aha because you've been under that many, many times, and there wasn't a noticing, and then you notice it now. Yeah, and then you see, like I like this guy Huang Po. In China, there was Chan. It was early Zen, and then some people from Japan came and they brought it back to Japan and turned into Zen. But Chan was like the Chinese idea of it, and this man came from that group, Huang Po, and he said, you cannot use the Buddha to seek the Buddha. You can't use light to seek light. You can't use mind to seek mind. Now, obviously, if he was sitting here and he was looking out at everyone and he was saying this, he was not seeing Mary, Brenda, Mia. He was seeing the Buddha, light, mind. And he was talking directly to the Buddha. You can't use yourself to find yourself. Yeah? The idea of Steve is the action of the obstacle, the obstruction. So he was talking directly to what was the fact, and he was telling that, the Buddha, you can't use yourself to find yourself. Saying that to Steve isn't going to go anywhere. But saying it to the Buddha may stop a lot of shit. So it's a beautiful knockout punch because you can't use the Buddha to seek the Buddha, the head regroups. You can't use mind to seek mind, it regroups. You can't use light to see light, it knocks it out. Yeah? And therefore what? What's there? A pause. What's still there? You. What got paused? The selfing. When the selfing gets paused, you don't get it. You're there completely. Yes? completely like always. So after a while, these examples are going to gain traction. They're going to root. And if you feel like they don't, just go to Satsang. Repetition's helpful. It is. So you just keep hearing it, and then it's seen from a different light or a different angle. And a lot of the mental tributaries will dead end. They'll dry up. You'll be convinced that, you're never going to get it. And therefore, there's not much effort trying to get it, yeah? You come to a point, in finite, there's endings. In the infinite, there isn't. The finite ends. Stuff happens, and then it doesn't. It runs out, yeah? You and I don't. We don't run out. We're infinite, supposedly, in a sense, yeah? So the finite runs out. It loses steam. It gives up. It runs into a dead end. And then that investment in that tributary dries up, and now the interest and attention may enrich your day instead of being used to enslave your day. That's all. And you'll find out about it. Yeah, you'll be the expression of it, and there'll be an observing of the expression, and you'll be like incredibly grateful and in awe that things have changed. Yeah, because I was driven by insanely out there with addiction. I mean, it was like a radioactive isotope. It was pulsating in me. Yeah. And as soon as I heard the word cocaine, I was like a rabid dog trying to convince someone else, because at that point I didn't have any money. I had to convince others to do what I wanted, and my batting average was going down precipitously every week. I wasn't being able to convince people to do what I wanted. Yeah, and I was super pissed, super freaking angry. Like the hungry ghost, in Tibetan thing, a small mouth and a big belly. I couldn't get a fucking enough. And if you don't die, shit's revealed. Yeah? Really, if you don't die, shit's revealed. You'll come out with some knowledge. It may not be accessible, but it can be, and it has been, yeah? But at that point it wasn't. But you've seen the head, this mythical character of self you've seen from the imagined head to toe. Yeah? And it has a lot to do with reverse engineering. You get relief, and then you're taught why there wasn't relief available. And then all the little tricks it has that captures you with another move of self trying to get out of self, you see it. So you catch about 4 or 5 of the tricks, and then you get the theme of them. There's a leap, yeah? You don't have to go through catching the thief every night. You caught a thief enough to know the thief, and you know it's not the owner of the house and it's not you. Yeah? So the thief can come in. It doesn't mean it's come into you. Yeah? That runs out. Serious. These things hit me. I was just sitting at Satsang, and I felt like an unspoken yes. Something just vibrated. And then the next couple of days I went somewhere else, and it was like, this feels like knowledge before knowledge, yes? And then I was sitting in India. He said, I'm never going to ask another question, because I saw the futility of the answer asking questions. So I said, and I never did. Now that never happened again. And they came to an end. Things just ended. I didn't have to go back and see what's going on with them. They were gone, finished, yeah? And now you're present because you can't be anywhere else. And you're available because you're present. The presence of what we are makes us available. That's the only thing that does. And then being available, you'll be put to service. Yeah, you'll have some role. Something will occur. Yeah? And it's not about forgetting yourself. It's about you're not that which is remembering self, really. Yeah? The self will be remembered, but you're not that. And I'm telling you, just like if I was here and I was, let's say before I met Amelia, and Amelia was in another room, and I had seen Amelia, and I'm thinking, I'd like to know Amelia, in a biblical way, horizontal or something. Maybe we'll have kids or shit like that. it would distract me from what I was doing here, because I'd be interested in listening to Amelia. Hopefully she says, I like that guy Paul, you know? So I'm really keen on listening, and everyone's noticing, hey, Paul, it doesn't seem like you're here. And I understand it, but I can't help myself. Then they come up with a book, How to Lose Interest in a Conversation in Another Room. I page through it. I agree with the principles, but the interest is in the other room. Until she finally says something, which is, I like Matt, and my name is Paul. Immediately, I don't have to send Navy SEAL 6 team to get the attention interest. It just leaves. I mean, it's not like 3-month process. It just goes because it's not about me. That's what it's all rooted in. If it's about you, it's sort of like we were talking today. People get it on an intellectual level, non-duality. So they're saying, oh, there is no shit. But if the flies are still flying around, you better act as if there's shit. Because the flies aren't taking your little mental denial. They're still flying around. So I would take their demonstration, there's shit. So you see, like, I remember the time I lived in Australia, I got introduced to non-duality. The girlfriend at the time was leaving. She said, Paul, do the dishes, all right? I'm going out with my friends. I said, okay. So she leaves, comes back, the dishes aren't done. She says, Paul, why didn't you do the dishes? There's no Paul. There's no Paul to do the dishes. She says, fuck you, do the dishes. So thank God I grew out of that immaturity quickly, because the mental having of non-duality is going to really, really disappoint you. It's not very easy to use it as a skillful means. If you're using it, the idea of non-self to get out of self, it's not going to work. You're going to end up with a non-self self, which is really bad. Really. Those you don't want to go to coffee with. No way. Because any I, me, or my, it's the letter of the law, not the spirit of the law. Seriously. The spirit of law can be completely sloppy. There's no rigidity to it. Yeah? We don't have any rote answers. People say, well, I had one talk, and they go, are you afraid of sharks? I said, not on land. I was sitting here, I go, no, I'm not. Well, would you be in the water? Maybe if I saw one, but the point is, I'm not in the water. Yes? Yeah. So this is just going to keep pounding away at it. If you want to know, there's a movement in your head that's not yours, it's not motivated by you, it's not driving you in a weird way, it's manufactured. The condition it wants you to be in, it says you already are. The condition it wants you to be in, it says you already are. You're never in the position of, oh, I'm becoming self, so I'm just going to stop or go this way. It says you already are one. It does. And when you when a doing occurs, there's a feeling of being the doer, yes? A sense of being the doer when you notice doing. And not only the sense of being the doer, the sense of being a doer for a long time, and the future that you're going to be a doer, yes? It's produced. If one doing was claimed and only one doer came out of it, that would be easy to get over. The next thing you did something else. Yeah. But this is whatever is done, you're the doer of it. This is one of the problems in recovery. People are used for transportation. They do a lot of fucking shit that they feel very guilty about and very bad about. And yet they're rooted into that guilt and shit because they were the doer of it. Even though something was doing through them what they would never have done by themselves, they're still the claiming of being the doer. Now they're sober for 20 years and they're still saddled with guilt and shame based on what happened before they got sober. That's bondage of self. You're in a point of being free and you're still bound. Yes? Because you're bound to the idea of being the doer. It was so obvious to me. There was a point with the cocaine, you would go out and then just go off on a thing. And you'd run into different people and then maybe you'd end up like 6 days at some guy's apartment. He answered the door, bent down, let you in, and everyone was in their little area shooting coke. And then you would run out of the coke, and you'd look around the room, and then you start looking at the rug, and you would start thinking there was cocaine in it on the rug. And then slowly you would get on all fours, and you would start looking for cocaine in the rug. Lint, anything that was white could possibly be it. And you'd basically almost build a fence because the others would see you, and then they'd start doing it. And now everyone's combing for cocaine. You're going to tell me the person chose to do that? They were compelled, they were driven to it. And you're driven so much more than you think all freaking day. We had it here. Where did everyone go in the break in the sun? Because the body's cold and they're serving the body. There's nothing, you don't have to stop it, just tell the truth. That's it. This is not about, I'm going to point something out and you've got to stop it. No, we just point it out and see what happens. Yes? Just be clear, the mental state is living for and as the body. It's concerned to get the better cushion, the nicer seat. Yes? It's going to go on all day. It's not you. That's the news. That's the good news. You're not going to change the course of this fucking river. You're not. Yeah, and then if you start being involved in that spirituality, then the ever-looming cloud of perfection comes over you, and now you're walking around with a big stick up your ass, thinking, I've got to meditate every day, and if I don't, the day's going to be terrible. What's that but playing God? What's playing God? You're at the head. Yeah. This is nothing. We have no steps. Like someone asked us, what do I do to make this practical? Nothing. Yeah? Maybe breathing will help. Maybe doing this and doing that. But it will lead to where you need to go. I trust that. Yeah? When you stop being presented as the leader and the director, you will be directed. And you will be led. And you may end up much happier through the being led and directed than you directing. Because that which is directing isn't you. It isn't. Yeah. This was surprising to me. 2 years in a program, lived there. They told me everything to do every fucking day. And I had to begrudgingly admit my life was better with them running it than with me running it. 2 years, every day. Lived. Not a month or 2 weeks, 2 years under their tutelage. I didn't like that, but I had to admit it looked better with them running it. Yeah. So when I was introduced to this idea in recovery of surrender, I was very, very keen on it because I definitely knew, especially from the download, that I was not managerial quality as what I was listening to. I knew it. I was convinced. Yes. And so the idea of surrendering, I was given a free taste of it. Now I can entertain surrendering. I don't have to wait for the phenomena, for the grace to occur. I've been induced by the grace. I can now entertain surrender. Yeah? I know of it. It can be entertained. So in this life, in recovery, the whole point is not starting. It's not about stopping. It's not starting. Yeah? If you don't start, everything is fucking academic. You don't need to know where the rehabs are. You don't have to get the ambulance. You're not going to go. Yeah? It's all about, and this is the point. Like in AA, they sometimes change the word drinking to thinking, and they use the 12 steps, because really that's where the problem resides. The problem gets delivered, and its message gets delivered through the thoughts. Yeah? And how do they get delivered? They're thoughts that are not of ours, yet when we notice them, they're called mine. It's the owning of being the thinker is what gives power to the thoughts. It's the owning of being the feeler that gives powers to feelings. It's the owning of the seeing that gives power to the seer and the seeing. It's a simple, small little word in English, my. If you took it away, if we had a thing here, we wrote down health, sex, money, I could change the meaning of that word without changing any letter in it. My money. I wish everyone here to have a lot of money. I don't want you to have any of my money. Same topic, money, completely different emphasis. Yes? Where was that demonstrated? My. What is that? A sense of owning that which you don't own. Doing that which you do not do. Losing that which you can't lose. Trying to have that which you've never lost. It's a mental activity that's dominating this life. We're not living life, we're living an interpretation of life. Yes? And something's playing God. And it ain't what we call God, really. It's the head. So, as it said earlier in that Course in Miracles, firm in faith in this something else to be ourselves. This is a lack of or a weakening of that faith. And that's the migration of interest and attention. And it's all based on I'm not that, really. Because that's why it's all the way it is it's because it's seen as that. You're seen as that, and we're just using the opposite to negate both, really. Yeah? When you're not that, you'll start losing interest. When you lose interest in that, you're going to gain interest. Yeah? And then maybe your life will become fulfilling, you'll be satisfied and content, and I'll tell you, all your heroic searching was probably based on feeling dissatisfied and discontent, really. Once you're content and satisfied, you're not going to be looking for much. Maybe a coffee or something, or a cake. Shit that you can actually find. Yeah? You'll be successful. Seriously. So, it's a simple message. It needs repeating, obviously. But the thing is, when it hits you, it tells you it's always been this way. It does. When it hits you, there's a message in there. It's always been this way. So all that you thought happened or didn't happen, should have or would have, none of that matters. Yeah? It erases all the idea, just like that lion, even though he thought it was a sheep for like 5-6 years, as soon as he saw the reflection of the older lion, it was forgotten in a nanosecond. Yeah? Or just like if you're sleeping at night and you're dreaming of a 5-second Slurpee drink, and the next night you're dreaming of a 300-year epic, how long does it take to wake up from both dreams? The influence of time is only in the dreaming. When you wake up, the 300 years is just as much as the 5-second Slurpee drink. You see? Course in Miracles, some people here are into it. Their whole way of describing this event is it's dreaming. Yes? So it says very clearly, you and I are the dreaming of this dream. We're not in someone else's dream. We're not in God's dream, unless you want to call yourself God. You and I are the dreaming of the dream. Not a participant, the whole enchilada. Yeah? So you and I are the dreaming of the dream. We forget that we're dreaming. That really interested me. How could you forget that you're dreaming if you're the dreaming? Well, here you go. You're identified as the dreamt. Yeah, the non-existent thing. So the dreaming, seemingly, it appears to the dreaming that is forgot. Has it forgotten? No. It's never factual. It's only seemingly so. The only level the head can arrive at is seemingly so. It can appear to be true, but it ain't. Yeah? Yes. This is the beauty of it, man. So the dreaming, you and I are the dreaming of the dream. We forget that we're dreaming. What happens? Now suddenly everything we're dreaming now has the ability to affect us. Sounds like our day, yes? So here it is. This is their take, not mine. Don't get angry with me. Course in Miracles. Yeah? You and I are the dreaming of the dream. I don't like the word dream. It sounds like an object or a noun. Dreaming. Yeah, but you and I are the dreaming of the dream. We forget that we're dreaming. The only way that could happen is in time. Yes? Yes. The only way things that aren't true, that can appear to be true, has to happen through time. Yeah? So you and I are the dreamer of dream, forget that we're dreaming, through the act of being identified as the dreamt. You're not doing the act of being dreamt. The head's doing the act of being identified. You are passively believing some shit. You're not doing it. Yes? It's important, because if you think it's you, you're going to hide a lot from it. Because you don't want any more to deal with. Yeah? That's, yeah. So please, ignorance is bliss. Let me have some ignorance. So you and I are the dreaming of the dream. We forget that we're dreaming through the act of being identified as the dreamt. In this condition, everything we're dreaming, we now give it the ability to affect us. Yeah? You go to lesson 2 in the Course in Miracles, you and I give everything all the meaning it has. Yeah? So you and I, giving everything all the meaning it has, coming through the identification as a self, we give meaning to appearances as being real. So that this appearance can seem to be real. Yes? Yet, the consequences are heavy, because now things are going to have seemingly real effects on us as this. Yeah? The idea of separation is going to be lived. You're going to feel it. And then the drive for connection, based on an imaginary condition of separation, is probably going to fail quite a lot. Yes? But the fact is, none of this has happened. It's just constantly going off. So if you go into the head, which is the habit of our attention and interest, you'll always catch it in the act of being identified as self. Always. Yeah? If you go into memory, you picture that as the self. If you go into this, critiquing, observer is self, witness, self. Yeah? The seer, self. Yeah? You can tell when the verb has been sucked out and you get a noun to replace it. You can tell you're getting the live fish that they brought, they've taken it away and you're getting Mrs. Paul's fish sticks. Yeah? They're taking, oh, this wasn't for you, and now you're getting an interpretation of life. And then we just fucking eat it. It's slavery to me. I think you should be pissed, really. Tell you the truth. I do, man. And the point is, you don't have to keep hoping to see the emperor with no clothes. Once may do it. It has a finite wardrobe. You're going to see it's wearing the same shit. I've heard this before. Wait a minute. I've heard this before. And now instead of thinking it's a narration of this whole story, it's a loop. It's using the same shit that you wrote about in a journal 20 years ago. I'm afraid of ... 20 years later, I'm afraid of ... So it sets the condition and then it goes off. Question the condition. If you want to run and try to change everything else, see, if you try to correct steps, missteps from an imaginary place, those corrections are going to reinforce the misstep, yes? You don't, okay, I'm now going to turn back. No, you see you're not that. Why do you have tons of guilt about other people? Not much. You don't carry 50 years. This thing we have in recovery is resentment is the number one offender. It kills more alcoholics than anything else, right? Resentment. Grievances for people, either seeming slights or real slights. They're all seeming slights, yeah? So this resentment, out in the wild may last like maybe 2 stops on the freeway, yeah? But when it's called my resentment, it can live for 60 years. You're feeding it. You're giving it life. You have a vendetta. Sometimes it gets passed to the family, like the Clampets and whatever. They're fighting. They forgot why. There's just hatred, just growing. That can't happen. It's the my. The my is giving the life. A resentment doesn't have an ability to live. When it's domesticated, called yours, it can grow for 70 fucking years. Where is the umbilical cord from you and to all these things? It's the my, the ownership. Just tell the fucking truth. Yeah, you don't have to tell the truth, it's not mine. You'll find that out. Just see the my. And the untruth of it will be told. I swear. You don't have to, you get the first hit and then it creates a momentum. It'll take you on a ride. You don't do much paddling. You don't. It's the easier, softer way, no way. Yeah. You rely on what's reliable, awareness. You see the falsity of relying on what's unreliable, the mental activities. That's it. You tell the truth of one and you find out the truth of the other. I do not try to find out the truth of the other from the one. I don't. It was pointless. I realized that it wasn't personal. It fails. I've seen it in all these spiritual groups I've gone to. So they can be super clear and they're not clear about this. They are like professor of holes, but they keep falling into holes. I don't want to fucking know holes. I want to avoid them. Yeah? This is like tactile. It's dog shit awareness. It's practical. Yeah? I've traveled lighter through a lot of different circumstances this life. Where before, as much as I try to control circumstances, I traveled heavy. Yeah. I mean, so heavy I wanted to get out. Quite a lot. Not knowing it was building an inn. I had no fucking idea until I did. And I see, that's why we got motivated to share. I was going to satsangs, and I felt like that sheep programming was arising and the lion was seemingly forgetting. And then that the revelation that it was a lion became an experience the sheep had. And then the sheep wanted more experiences like that. Yeah? And then the seeking just adapted to that and went that way. Yeah? And I believed that certain circles in life would be immune to this, like spirituality, and it wasn't. It was shot through with it. Yeah? Yeah, exactly. So I was compelled to share, and I hit my limit. It says if you don't, if people don't see this, they're going to look from it. The claiming it happens so fast. It's sort of like, we used to use the example of, when you used to go to Asia when I was younger, you'd get these like cardboard little cameras. They'd have one roll of film. You could take like 24 pictures, and you'd bring it to a pharmacy, and they would develop it. And that was the end of it. The thing would be thrown out. It wasn't your camera for too long. Yeah, just the camera. So let's call it like a brownie. Yeah, and let's say there's that, and then there's this incredible, huge 360-degree panoramic HD camera walking around. Yeah. It's walking around on a mobile tripod. It's going around, and it sees this little brownie camera. It says, I'm going to look through the brownie camera. And as it looks through the brownie camera, it forgets that it's the larger camera. So now it's starting to see through that plastic lens, and it's having a vague sense of dissatisfaction, but its possibilities are handcuffed through the identification as the brownie camera. So it's the only thing you can do is, I'm going to save up a lot of money, and I'm going to buy a $3,000 Nikon lens, and I'm going to put it on the brownie, and it's going to change it. But what's the first lens is still the plastic lens. The $3,000 lens is not going to upgrade the plastic lens. So it's just not. The plastic lens is before. The other lens is after. The before has a lot more influence on the after than the after has on before. Let me tell you. So what happens? Yeah? Saturn just keeps trying to improve, but it's the same old, same old. Someone sees the situation, but sees the brownie and the bigger camera. Doesn't see the bigger camera as the brownie. It sees both. It sees the brownie and the bigger camera, and it talks to the bigger camera and goes, hey, what are you doing looking through that brownie? What? The possibility sinks in finally. And what's the possibility? Hey, if I'm not this brownie camera, I can be free from it. And what happens? The bigger, the big camera just steps back. There's no need for an operation and shit like that. It was never the brownie camera. It was just looking through it. Yeah? And now that myopic view, is now seen by the panoramic view. The myopic view doesn't have to go anywhere. Yeah? The panoramic includes the myopic, but the myopic does not include the panoramic. It does not include it. The myopic sees the panoramic as a myopic would see it. Yeah? So this is the whole point. I'm believing you're starting as the large camera. You can see the brownie. Yeah? If you see the brownie, you probably won't be buying a $3,000 Nikon lens for it. You'll realize it only can go so far, and you're not. The urban renewal project will be canceled, and maybe your life will become more of an enriching of the day instead of a bondage to or a slavery. Yes, that's my hope. Yeah, and here's the bell to verify it. Crow confirms. I mean the rooster.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Don't you take it? You just got a giant yay. And a repeat. He threw one more in there. Did it? He threw another dong right there. You don't see that as a message? I'm waiting. No. You missed the bus. You're already on the bus. You're not waiting for the bus. You're on it. So, if anyone have any questions? Not in there, bro. The peanut gallery. Be quiet for a little while. Anyone? Yes?
So all the emphasis on personal work or maybe even past life work, is that just a Nikon lens that you're putting on the ground?
Well, what do you think? Or what do you feel? Yes? There you go. The message is for you, not for me. Yeah, and it's felt. So if that's the case and you feel that, go with it. Yeah, and then judge the tree by the fruit. Yeah. Yeah, I remember when it hit me, people would call me about, oh, this great teacher came in. You missed it. I go, well, that's okay. Another, oh, I missed him too. Yeah. It's like the pants were down. I just fucking walked around with the pants down. And then I got used to it. Yeah. And then I appreciate a lot of stuff, but in my case, most of the looking ended, really. I haven't looked for anything. All I've been doing is satsang. And a lot of shit gets revealed doing nothing, to tell you the truth. Yeah. You just get over so many old ideas that there's like a meritocracy concerning being, which isn't appropriate. Yes? You don't earn being. You don't get approved on the level of being. It just is, yeah? All of the assumptions and considerations are on our side. It's like, you ever read the Prodigal Son in the Bible? If I'm way off, tell me. I haven't read it in a long time. But the Prodigal Son he's in a nice situation, but he wants to check things out, and he goes off, he starts drinking, screwing up, and he starts feeling guilty. And he doesn't want to go back to his father in the place because he feels like he did something. And he really needs to be punished in a way. So he's living on a bottom, and he ends up in a pigsty. And he's fighting a pig for a cob of corn. And once again, it comes up about his father, but this time there's a break, there's a surrender. Suddenly, there's no bridge story. He's immediately on the road meeting his father. Father's giving him a new ring, giving him a robe, and saying we have a big feast going on. There's no, oh, he realized something, then he grabbed himself up from the bootstraps, came out, cleaned up, got a job, got this, and then went back home. No. He just fucking admitted he was outmatched, and there it was. It's beautiful. No bridge, no story, not even a paragraph. It says he's in the pigsty, suddenly he's on the road, his father's right there. Hey, here's a nice pair of shoes, pants, ring, food. Yeah. Oh no, I haven't done enough to deserve it. Bullshit. Just go for it. Yeah? When is it going to come in this life? Now. Don't you think that is playing God? We have a guy, he heard it in the Zoom. He says, oh, before I meet God, I get the candle, get the bell. And I'm going, he says, is this playing God? And it was dawning on him. It was great. Wait a minute, I'm playing God with God. Yes, exactly. Yeah? Do you think he really needs the right atmosphere? Do you think everywhere needs to meet you at a special somewhere? It's fucking insane. Talk about, God in our image. What? We're made in God's image. We make God in our image. Really. We're doing the exact bizarro world. We're making God in our image. Yeah? He could get pissed at us, smote us. If you read the Old Testament, doesn't it sound like your head? It does. Sounds like the guy's a real fucking prick in a way. You gotta prove your love to me and shit like this. Sounds like a fucking your head. I think that's what they thought God was speaking. It was their head. They were listening to the fucking selfie. So, there is a solution. That's beautiful, eh? From the problem, you need a solution. From the solution, there is no problem. From the problem, you need a solution. Here it is. In the solution, there is no problem. That's how efficient it is. Nothing needs to be removed or reclaimed or reprogrammed. It was all an appearance, all appearing, yes? As if in a dream. Yeah? So, see, at night, the dream is accompanied with a morning, right? Because we wake up in the morning, we can see something was a dream. When we were dreaming, it was as real can be, yes? But now, in the awake dream, there's not a built-in morning. Yeah? You maybe need satsang, whack, whatever. You may need whatever you need, but it will be like a morning to the night dream. You'll awake to the awake dream. Yes? Yeah, you'll start seeing the exact nature is exactly the same. When that tiger in the dream produces an uncaused effect, you're super afraid. When you wake up, you're not, because you saw the tiger wasn't real. Yes or no? Exactly. A lot of stuff has a reality, but when you wake up of seeing what you're not, that reality isn't that real. Yes? It's more of an appearance. And by lack of interest, it doesn't appear as much. It's that simple. Its influence over you lessens, yeah? And some other influence through you strengthens, yeah? Yeah. To me, the daily maintenance is satsang occasionally. Yeah. I attend them just like you're attending. The giving and the receiving are the same fucking thing. The giving of satsang and the receiving are the exact same. Yeah? I'm getting nothing all the time, which is great. Yeah. That's made a huge impression on me. Year after year, getting nothing. They get cakes and coffees and shit like that. But not having anything. When I go home, people who know me never ask me how the trip was, because it's over. There's nothing to say, nothing to get out of it. It's beautiful, eh? So, you want any more questions? Any questions?
I was going to ask one about,
Yeah.
I think you answered it her, about memory. That memory haunts us part of it. So we just have to take off the glasses, eh?
Well, memory pictures you as a body. So when you and the body are synonymous in memory. Yeah. But the thing is, you see, because there is no self, it has to be made or manufactured. So it's made and manufactured in time. So I was Paul. Yeah. I was Paul the body. I will be Paul the body. Or why am I fucking worrying about someone I'm not? Yeah. So I was Paul. I will be Paul. Therefore I am Paul. That's its logic. Yeah. So self has to be remembered. What's true doesn't need to be remembered. It's here. What's not true and not here has to be remembered to be here. So there's always a remembering of self going on. The programming is always remembering itself. That's why past and future play such a dominant role, because you can appear much more in the past and much more in the future than you're actually appearing now. Yeah? Yeah. That's why it likes being in the past and the future more, because you're pictured as what it wants you to take yourself to be. Now it's a crapshoot. Yeah? If you